Chapter 5391. Lin Xian stretched out his hand again and grabbed forward. He grabbed a piece of demonic beast meat from the pile. It was already very fragrant. He took a bite and nodded his head in satisfaction. Not bad. The dog-headed cultivator was furious. If this lord dog doesn't flip out, do you think I'm a sick cat? He waved his hand and the iron pot surged forward. In an instant it enveloped Lin Xian. Then the dog-headed cultivator waved his hand and released a terrifying flame. You're going to be stewed. The flame in front of him burned and made gurgling sounds. The dog-headed cultivator coldly snorted. How is it? Now you know the consequences of messing with me. You want to fight with this lord dog? You're overestimating yourself. The dog-headed cultivator coldly laughed. However, at this moment, a voice came from the iron pot. I'm afraid that your iron pot won't be able to hold it. Then a clanging sound was heard and the iron pot was sent flying. *CK My elixir killed the demonic beast. You ate it all. The dog-headed cultivator was shocked. At the same time he was also surprised. The strength of the person in front of him was too terrifying. One had to know that his iron pot was actually a terrifying weapon. His flame was even more terrifying. Even a divine ancestor would be turned into a meal if he was enveloped by it. However, the opponent was completely fine. Make your move. Show me your true strength. Lin Xian walked over with large strides. Terrifying sword energy revolved around his body. However, the dog-headed cultivator coldly snorted. He carried the iron pot and clenched his teeth. Despicable brat, this lord dog has no food to eat today. Just you wait. I'll deal with you after I'm full. After saying that, he barked and turned into a ray of light, disappearing. What a strange fellow. Lin Xian shook his head and continued on his way. Finally, he reached the top of the stairway. He took a step and entered the valley. At the same time, other people also entered the other stairways. When the last person on the stairway entered, a loud voice rang out between heaven and earth. At the same time, the destructive halberd exploded with power. Now all the spots on the stairway had been used up. Everyone else had been eliminated. What? Some of the people who were still trying their best to advance on the stairway heard this and their expressions changed. Have all the spots been filled? Were they eliminated? No, I can't accept this. Roars rang out one after another. However, it was useless. Each stairway only had 3 slots and they had all been used up. The others were all teleported out. Outside the extreme Dao world, rays of light appeared one after another. This sudden change caused the others to cry out in alarm. What was going on? Why did so many people suddenly teleport out? After coming out, those people roared towards the sky. Damn it, I can't accept this. Just a little bit more and I would have gotten a spot. Were all these people eliminated? The surrounding spectators were truly shocked. What kind of battle had taken place inside? At this time, a ray of light rushed out from the extreme Dao gate, forming a light screen. A scene appeared and the Yi clan's people cried out in alarm. The members of the Fire Qilin clan also raised their heads and looked over. At this moment, everyone looked at the light screen in front of them. They discovered that a valley had appeared in front of them. It was the extreme Dao Valley. They were all shocked. Was the final battle about to begin? Those who were eliminated gritted their teeth and were unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. They could only accept this reality. One by one they descended with gloomy expressions. They all wanted to see how the people inside would fight. In the extreme Dao Valley there were 9 stairways and 3 figures stood on each of them. There were a total of 27 people. These people had successfully entered the finals, which meant that they were on the leaderboard. These people's names would be engraved on the divine steel this time. However, this was not the end. There was still the final ranking. The top 10 had some rewards, especially the reward for the first place. That was something left behind by the great emperor. The goal of some top-notch powerhouses was to get first place. At the very least, they had to get into the top 10. They had to succeed. At this moment, an extremely terrifying light burst out from those people's eyes. At the same time, the 27 people who succeeded quickly looked around, looking for their opponents. Many people's faces darkened when they saw Lin Xian. Damn it, that kid was still here. Lin Xian also looked around and saw some familiar people. For example, Yao Guang, Hua Qilin, and the others were all here. There were also a few attendants from Mount Eternal who came in. At the same time he saw Murong Qingqing, Yen Ryu, and the Dark Red Dragon. He waved at those people. Big brother Xian. Murong Qingqing and the others were also happy. Damn it, it should be you. At this moment, the dog-head loose cultivator looked at Lin Xian and gritted his teeth. He was on the 6th stairway. Other than him, there was Lin Xian and a woman. That woman shouldn't be the one who fought with him, so it should be Lin Wuti. He stared at Lin Xian and bared his fangs. Lin Xian looked at him and smiled. He walked over and patted the dog-head loose cultivator's shoulder. Are you full? The dog-head loose cultivator shouted angrily. Not yet. You knocked over my food. Lin Xian smiled. Why don't we have a meal now? You provide the pot and the food. I'll provide the flame. The dog-head loose cultivator snorted and put down the pot on his back. Then he took out a few demonic beasts from his storage ring and quickly cleaned them up. Then he threw them into the pot. Lin Xian smiled. He waved his hand and the 9-yang divine flame began to burn. Not long after, a fragrance filled the air and spread in all directions. When the people on the stairway saw this, their eyes widened. Heavens, what is the meaning of this? This is the final battle and you're actually eating and drinking here? This Lin Wuti is really arrogant. Some people who knew Lin Xian frowned. However, what shocked them even more was that the other dog-head loose cultivator was even more arrogant. He actually carried a pot on his back. What did he think this place was? At this moment, the apex weapon appeared in the sky again. The black tortoise looked down and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He smiled and said, "First, congratulations on entering the rankings. Next is the rankings." Everyone had a chance to challenge and the rankings would be based on victory and defeat. First, the top 10 would be decided. Hearing this, no one was surprised. No matter how they fought, they would go all out. Challenge? The first envoy let out a cold grin. He was just standing there. He wanted to see who dared to challenge him. His body emitted an extremely terrifying, undying battle intent that shot into the sky. The people around felt their scalps go numb. This person could definitely enter the top 10. They even felt that he had the strength to enter the top 3. Chapter 5392. The dog-head cultivator ate even faster after hearing that. No, he had to recover his strength as soon as possible. Lin Xian was also eating calmly at the side, as if he didn't care about the upcoming match at all. The Lady of the River Diagram's eyelids twitched. These two fellows were really... He didn't know what to say anymore. She was even a little angry, so she closed her eyes and stopped paying attention. At that moment, the faces of the other people on the stairway to heaven darkened. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Kid, you're still so relaxed here. I'll send you to hell right now. A cold voice was heard. Shocking murderous intent swept towards Lin Xian. Lord Dog glared at the person and said, "Leave. He came from you. Don't knock over my food." He protected his iron pot. Lin Xian frowned and put down the stew in his hand. He raised his head and glanced over. It was the 5th emissary of the Indestructible 3. He came to the valley with murderous intent. He pointed at Lin Xian and said, "You're here to die." Lin Xian glanced at him and stood up. He laughed coldly. "You people from the Indestructible Thousand Mountains are really funny. You said you wanted to kill me, but you were all sent to hell by me. Alright, I'll send you out to meet them today." Lin Xian strode forward. At the same time, the surrounding people looked around. Some of them started to choose their opponents. They chose some weak opponents and eliminated them first. They had to at least enter the top 10. That was what the surrounding people thought. For example, Yao Guang's eyes lit up. He stared at the people around him. Should he find 2 of them and devour their bloodlines? That dog-head cultivator was with Lin Xian, right? He should get rid of him too. There was no need for him to be here. Who did he think he was? Why was he eating and drinking here? Kill him. A middle-aged man soared into the sky and charged towards the dog-head cultivator. You dare to challenge Lord Dog? Do you want to die? The dog-head cultivator was very angry. Last time, his food was knocked over by Lin Xian. This time, someone dared to disturb his meal. He was furious. He picked up the bone beside him and threw it over. A terrifying light exploded. It moved like a mountain, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. The middle-aged man was blown into the valley. He spat out blood. However, the dog-head cultivator didn't let him go. He waved his claws and tore him into 2. Trash. How dare you disturb Lord Dog? The dog-head cultivator. He looked at the 5th envoy and said, "Hurry up and make your move." There was a hint of impatience in his expression. At this moment he was looking at the array formation light screen in front of him. One battle after another was going on. They also cried out in surprise. Was this the finals? Too powerful. Some of the people who were eliminated sucked in a breath of cold air. They weren't convinced before, but now they realized that the people who entered the final were all extremely terrifying. Even if they went up, it would be difficult for them to deal with them. They might even be defeated in an instant. That's Lin Wuti. He's going to make a move. His opponent is from Mount Eternal. Lin Xian was probably done for. This time he was out of luck. The 10 great emissaries of Mount Eternal were extremely terrifying. Even the 10th emissary was already so terrifying. How terrifying is the 5th emissary? No matter how strong his comprehension is, can he withstand it? Everyone exclaimed. The Thousand Dragon Dynasty's people sneered. It seems that this kid is dead. The Purple Mansion's people also snorted. They didn't need to do anything. Someone was able to deal with a strong opponent. That was great. However, the 4th emissary of Mount Eternal had a cold expression. He was defeated by Lin Xian. The 5th emissary was about the same strength as him. He was even weaker. It was very dangerous to fight against him now. He could only say, "Old 5th, I hope you won't be careless." The 5th emissary in Extreme Dao Valley made a move. He formed a seal with his palm and struck out a law. The whole world shook violently. It was like a black sea that swept through the 9 heavens. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the area where Lin Xian was. The monstrous black sea water swept through the sky, making everyone's scalp numb. The 5th emissary smiled. This is the eternal ocean. Once the opponent enters, he can forget about coming out. The 3rd emissary and the others also sneered. However, they were destined to be disappointed this time. In the eternal ocean, Lin Xian had already struck out. His golden fist pierced through heaven and earth. It directly pierced through the eternal ocean. Then he walked out. How is this possible? The 5th emissary's pupils shrank. His expression became incomparably ugly. The 3rd emissary was also stunned. They knew the power of the eternal ocean. Even if the opponent wanted to come out, he would have to use all his strength to burn the law and come out with serious injuries. But now the opponent pierced through it with one punch. What kind of strength is this? Bus. Lin Xian's emissary, the Shadowless Heaven's Net, instantly arrived in front of the 5th emissary and punched out again. This punch directly hit the opponent's body and sent him flying. Half of the 5th emissary's body was shattered. Sacred blood dripped from the sky. He was completely stunned. He landed in the distance and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The others also cried out in alarm. The spectators outside were even more in an uproar. The expressions of the people from Mount Eternal changed. How could this be? Was the gap so big? The 5th emissary was careless. The 4th emissary's expression was incomparably solemn. This guy was even more terrifying than when he met him. The 5th emissary stood up. He roared at the sky, and inextinguishable power surrounded him. His body was repaired. At the same time he shouted angrily. All kinds of laws flew over in an overwhelming manner. Light surged between heaven and earth. Lin Xian sneered. He waved his hand and the Taiji diagram rotated. A terrifying yin and yang aura swept through heaven and earth, striking out between yin and yang. At the same time he soared into the sky like a giant dragon. His fists danced and the entire world was constantly shattered. The yin and yang sword blocked the opponent's law divine ability. He then attacked the 5th emissary. With another 2 punches, the 5th emissary was torn apart. It shouldn't be the umpteenth time that she felt despair. She felt that the opponent's fists were too terrifying. He couldn't resist the opponent at all. The opponent had completely surpassed him. He turned around and fled. Lin Xian sneered. He kicked out and sent the opponent flying again. Then he formed a seal with his palm, forming a few suns and directly suppressing them. Boom boom boom. The entire Extreme Dao Valley was completely enveloped by the light of the sun. Everyone closed their eyes. This power was really too terrifying. Chapter 5393. Damn it, how dare you! The 3rd emissary roared crazily. He sensed that the 5th emissary's aura had disappeared. Were the others also exclaiming that they had been eliminated? When the light in front of them disappeared, they carefully looked over. The 5th emissary was nowhere to be seen. Only Lin Xian was standing there with his hands behind his back. Lin Xian looked around and sneered. Mount Eternal was too weak. Was there no one who could fight? Brat, are you courting death? The 3rd emissary roared crazily. The 2nd emissary's eyes were also filled with cold killing intent. I'm going to kill you myself. Lin Xian ignored this threat and returned to the stairway. The surrounding people were also surprised. One had to know that the 5th emissary was also very powerful. However, he was completely suppressed by Lin Xian. He was easily eliminated in a few moves. How powerful was Lin Wuti? They couldn't see through him. Some of the experts furrowed their brows tightly. This was truly a peerless enemy. Outside the Extreme Path world, those from Mount Eternal were also gritting their teeth. Damn it. Half of the emissaries on their side were eliminated by Lin Wudi. Don't worry, the first 3 emissaries were very powerful. As long as one of them met the other, he would be killed. Lin Wudi and the others clenched their fists. They were waiting for that moment. The other people were also fighting. What was more shocking was the battle between He Qi and the four-handed Divine Lord. He Qi was an expert who had been asleep for tens of thousands of years. He had 7 black flags beside him that could suppress and seal everything. The four-handed Divine Lord was a veteran divine ancestor. His 4 arms danced like thousands of lightning bolts that swept across the starry sky. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. Multicolored light danced in the sky and swept through the 9 heavens. The surrounding people were also shocked. However, in the end, the four-handed Divine Lord was defeated. He was suppressed and sealed by He Qi's flag and was completely eliminated. Countless people looked at He Qi in surprise and gasped. This person was also very terrifying. He had the possibility of entering the top 10. Murong Qingqing and the others also made a move and eliminated their opponents. They displayed their powerful strength. After the battle, everyone returned to the stairway. Now the number of people had been reduced by half. After that, everyone became very careful because those who stayed behind were all experts. They didn't dare to be careless. They were already very close to the top 10. It was not easy to eliminate even one of them. In particular, there were a few figures that they absolutely could not challenge. For example, the number 1 emissary of Mount Eternal had been standing there with his hands behind his back since the beginning. No one dared to challenge him. In addition, there was also the light-shaking realm cultivators. They didn't want to become food for the other party. The born Taoism aptitude was also extremely terrifying. Just the great path on his body alone was enough to make them feel as if they were facing a formidable enemy. There were also a few people who were very terrifying, such as Lin Wudi. They didn't dare to challenge him rashly. There was also the dog-headed Taoist. The other party was too strange. Before he figured out the other party's trump card, he probably wouldn't dare to act rashly. At this time, Xiaoying stood up and told the people around him to keep an eye on a figure. Let me see how terrifying you, the legendary Thunder King, are. When these words were spoken, the crowd was in an uproar. Heavens, Xiaoying actually wanted to fight the Thunder King. These two people were both double champions who had been asleep for tens of thousands of years and had now awakened. The battle between these two people was absolutely terrifying. The Thunder King also stood up and snorted coldly. As you wish. The Thunder King's lightning was very terrifying. It was as if he had turned into a thunder god. On the other side, Xiaoying's figure was blurry. He should be an expert of the speed illusion type. In the next moment, Xiaoying moved. In an instant, he formed 3 phantoms and directly attacked the Thunder King. He tore apart the Thunder King's sea of lightning. The laws in his hands turned into sharp blades and mercilessly slashed down. The Thunder King roared angrily. His palms split open the sky and turned into 2 thunder mountains. The large hammers bombarded in all directions. A deafening sound rang out. The surrounding people were shocked. Lin Xian was also surprised. It seemed that Xiaoying's strength was stronger than before. It seemed that the other party had obtained a Bodhi fruit before and didn't use it anymore. The Bodhi fruit was very precious. The power contained in one was very terrifying. Xiaoying's strength had greatly increased. Did the Thunder King have any fortuitous encounters? The Thunder King roared. His Thunder King's lightning contained a violent and destructive power. Moreover, he was an expert who had awakened from a deep slumber. How could he be weak? At this moment, his attack contained earth-shattering power. Thunder interweaved in the sky as if it was going to destroy the world. On the other side, Xiaoying was like a ghost. He held a shadow divine saber in his hand and swept across the sky. The two were evenly matched in the battle. Xiaoying seemed to be suppressed. The surrounding people were discussing spiritedly. That was indeed the case. It seemed that the Thunder King was sweeping in all directions. Xiaoying just kept dodging and occasionally struck out a few moves. However, Lin Xian frowned. He could see that the Thunder King's situation was very bad. In such a top-level battle with such a terrifying consumption, the Thunder King had probably fallen into a trap. More importantly, Xiaoying definitely hadn't used his full strength. He was waiting. Therefore, Lin Xian felt that the Thunder King was probably going to lose this battle. Seeing Lin Xian shake his head, the He Tu's daughter was stunned. Then he said, "It's boring to watch the battle. Let's continue." By now, he could see that the one who had beaten him back then was probably Lin Xian. However, he didn't attack Lin Xian because he felt that Lin Xian could also enter the top 10. He was waiting for the final battle of the top 10. Now he wanted to eliminate the others. The dog-headed Taoist didn't seem interested in the He Tu's daughter's attack. He just ate and drank. However, someone had their eyes on him. A person with a ferocious expression floated over like a demon and attacked the dog-headed Taoist. Lin Xian was also curious. What was this dog-headed Taoist's background? The other party seemed to have a very powerful trump card. Lin Xian also wanted to continue attacking because a veteran of the sacred clan had his eyes on him. The sacred ancestor of myriad poison had a very terrifying poison on him. If other sacred lords were to encounter him, they would turn into a pool of blood. It was very terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the battle started again. The dog-headed Taoist was the first to finish the battle. The dog-headed Taoist saw someone attacking. He was furious. Damn it. Woof woof, I'll swallow you. He opened his bloody mouth and swallowed the world. The king ghost was swallowed up. The next moment he burped. Everyone was stunned. Was it over just like that? It shouldn't be. With the king ghost's strength, it could definitely tear apart the dog-headed Taoist's body and kill its way out. However, after waiting for a long time, they realized that it was extremely quiet. There was no sign of the king ghost. Chapter 5394. Wang Gui's defeat was shocking. At the same time, the outcome of the battle on the other side was also decided. Countless people exclaimed. They didn't expect the Thunder King to be defeated. This was really too surprising for them. One had to know how strong the Thunder King was. He swept through the 8 barren lands and even suppressed Xiao Ying to the point that he couldn't fight back. But now the Thunder King was the one who was defeated. The Xiao Ying was incredible. He had hidden his strength too deeply. Many people exclaimed. Burning incense and the others frowned. They were all experts who had awakened from their slumber and their strength was about the same. But now Xiao Ying exploded with such terrifying strength. It was obvious that he had obtained many opportunities before. With a victorious smile, Xiao Ying returned to the stairway. He had obtained the 2 Bodhi fruits previously. How could he not be strong? This time he could definitely enter the top 10. He even felt that he could fight for the top 3. Lin Xian had already guessed that the Thunder King would be defeated. So he wasn't surprised. He stared at the old man in front of him. The old man was wearing a green robe and his body was poisonous. He smiled. Kid, admit defeat obediently. Otherwise you will turn into a pool of blood in my hands. Lin Xian sneered. Seeing Lin Xian's disdainful expression, the myriad poison Saint Tomb snorted and stretched out his hand. The palm was poisonous. Even the divine ancestor didn't dare to fight back. He directly enveloped Lin Xian. This myriad poison Saint Lord wasn't ordinary. His poison was terrifying. The spectators exclaimed. If one was touched by the poison they would die. They didn't know how Lin Wuti was going to fight back. Although his physique was miraculous, he was afraid that it would not be able to completely withstand the poison. As soon as they arrived, the sounds of discussion could be heard. Lin Xian's body flashed. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and disappeared. With this palm strike, the place where he was originally standing turned into a black hole. It was corroded by the poison. Lin Wuti dodged. He didn't use his divine body to fight back. This meant that his divine body couldn't block the poison either. Countless exclamations rang out. The eyes of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty's people were filled with killing intent. This kid was going to die in this battle. For example, the people from the Golden Crow clan were also sneering. Sure enough, Lin Xian kept dodging, and the 10,000 poisons in the sky kept descending. Every strike caused a black hole to appear in the void. One could only imagine how terrifying he was. After 10 moves, the myriad poison saint snorted coldly. Kid, you don't even have the courage to fight? Even if you keep running, you will be defeated one day. Lin Xian stopped and looked ahead. Escape? You're wrong. I'm waiting for you to use your ultimate move. 10 moves have already passed. Your strength is only SOSO. Then this battle could end. The sacred ancestor of myriad poison was infuriated. Are you looking down on me? He snorted coldly, and the power in his body exploded once again, sweeping through the surroundings. Since that's the case, I'll let you know how powerful I am. The universe of poison. Kid, I've used this poison to destroy 5 worlds in an instant. Let's see how you'll block it. A black ball of light appeared in his hand. There were extremely terrifying laws revolving around it, and even some terrifying ones were emerging. The surrounding people all felt their scalps go numb. They all retreated and even used their laws to block. They knew that the myriad poison saint was going to use his ultimate move. This time Lin Xian was really going to die. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. He didn't even move. His right eye, the Rinnegan, was completely open. Reincarnation spirit destruction. An extremely terrifying light suddenly erupted from his eye, like an aurora lighting up the night sky. In an instant, everyone's souls were about to be extinguished. The sacred ancestor of myriad poison on the opposite side screamed. Before he could use his universe of poison, he fell on his back. Just now, his soul was severely injured. His soul cracked and the pain almost made him die. In the next instant, he turned into a white light and disappeared. Was it over? Everyone was stunned. He had ended the battle with a single glance. Had this guy's eye techniques become even more terrifying than before? Many people stared at Lin Xian, their scalps going numb. If they were the ones facing this kind of eye technique, would they be able to withstand it? It seemed that in the future, when facing Lin Wuti, the first thing they needed to do was defend their souls. How pitifully weak. Lin Xian shook his head and turned around. The battle continued. The Fire Qilin began to search for enemies to fight. On the other side, Yao Guang also began to attack. His appearance caused everyone to lower their heads. They were terrified. Please don't choose me. No one wanted to become an enemy of a light-shaking realm cultivator. Yao Guang turned around and stared at Lin Xian. He narrowed his eyes. There were rules to the competition. Although he could freely challenge anyone, those who had just finished fighting were protected by the rules and couldn't continue to fight. As such, Yao Guang had no choice but to choose Lin Xian. However, his lips curled up as he stared at another figure on the sky staircase. Rainbow Phoenix, your bloodline should be quite good. Come out and fight. Everyone was stunned. What? He actually chose Murong Qingqing. Even Murong Qingqing frowned. Lin Xian's pupils contracted. He suddenly stood up and stared at Yao Guang. Are you looking to die? Yao Guang laughed. Are you worried that I'm going to attack your woman? Don't worry. I'll kill him first, then send you to hell. You'll be reunited there very soon. His laugh was extremely cruel. Damn, this guy was too arrogant. The dark red dragon also gnashed its teeth. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. He looked at Murong Qingqing. However, she said, Brother Xian, I can handle this one. Be careful. Lin Xian is worried. Murong Qingqing nodded. I don't have confidence in defeating him, but it's also impossible for him to swallow me. Murong Qingqing walked out of the Extreme Path realm. The people outside were also in an uproar. They were surprised that the Rainbow Phoenix was in danger. Yao Guang was probably going to swallow another peerless expert. The Rainbow Phoenix was Lin Wuti's woman. Yao Guang was obviously targeting Lin Wuti. Countless voices rang out. The people from the Purple Mansion sneered, while the people from the Divine Union were extremely worried. The people from the Phoenix clan had also arrived. The old Phoenix squinted at the array light screen in front of him. Would Qingqing lose? He didn't think so. He had confidence in Qingqing. The Rainbow Phoenix was a very ancient and mysterious bloodline of the Phoenix clan. It wouldn't be defeated so easily. The emissary from Mount Eternal sneered at the end. Good idea. It seems like we have to kill Lin Wuti's companions first. She stared at Yen Ryu, the dark red dragon, and the others. Lin Xian was completely enraged. Chapter 5395. Lin Xian's voice was like thunder, spreading in all directions. The surrounding people were also surprised. Heavens, Lin Wuti still wanted to fight? It was too unbelievable. He had just finished a battle and hadn't fully recovered yet, but he wanted to continue fighting. There were rules. For people like Lin Xian, they had just finished a battle and others couldn't challenge him. But he could challenge them. Under normal circumstances, no one would do so. Because those who were still here were all top-notch experts. Fighting with such people would consume a lot of energy in every battle, so they had to recover quickly. If they couldn't fully recover, they would be at a disadvantage in the next battle. Now Lin Xian didn't care about this at all and wanted to challenge the third emissary. The third emissary sneered after hearing this. Couldn't wait to die? I'll fulfill your wish. He flew out and sneered. I'm afraid you don't dare. If you don't dare, you think too highly of yourself. Lin Xian rose into the air and went directly to the battlefield. He was completely angry. These people wanted to attack his companions. He couldn't stand it. He would send the 10 emissaries of Mount Eternal to hell. It was a shocking battle. The battle between Yao Guang and Murong Qingqing, and the battle between Lin Xian and the third emissary were all exceptional battles. They all watched with wide eyes. The third emissary sneered. Kid, don't try to use your eye techniques to attack me. Because my soul is also terrifying. A black light appeared in his eyes. A monstrous soul power swept out. Countless people were surprised. What a terrifying soul aura. It seemed that Lin Wuti had met his match this time. His soul was powerful, but it was unknown who was stronger between him and the third emissary. The third emissary sneered. Inextinguishable flame. He unleashed a terrifying soul flame and charged over. Everyone quickly retreated and defended their souls. The aura emitted by this flame attack made them feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Inextinguishable flame swept through the sky and enveloped Lin Xian. The surrounding people sneered. This kid was going to be unlucky. The people of Mount Eternal snorted coldly. That was for sure. The soul of the 30th emissary was terrifying. It was called the Inextinguishable Eye, and it was definitely not something that the kid could resist. With a boom, the world spun, and the phantoms of 6 worlds surrounded Lin Xian. It blocked the inextinguishable flame. Lin Xian raised his head and closed his left eye. The Rinnegan bloomed with a terrifying light. There were mysterious laws and runes circling it. So what if it was the inextinguishable eye? Be destroyed. With a furious roar, an illusory eye appeared in the sky. A hand of the heavens stretched out from the eye and slapped down. Boom boom boom. The undying flames in the surroundings were all slapped away, and some were even extinguished. Everyone was shocked. What a terrifying eye technique attack. Is this the legendary Rinnegan eye? It was really terrifying. Rinnegan or immortal eyes, which one is stronger? Everyone was Xian. The third messenger also stared coldly at the other party's eyes. Rinnegan? So what? It's just an eye. Can it block my undying eye? Inextinguishable eye, blade of the soul. The black runes in his eyes rotated and then condensed to form 2 blades of the soul. The terrifying light slashed forward. The blade of the soul was thousands of meters long and carried an incomparably terrifying message. It could easily split the soul of a divine ancestor in half. At this moment, everyone cried out in alarm. The people watching the battle outside were also shocked. Mount Eternal was too terrifying. Each of the 10 emissaries was incomparably terrifying. They were double champions and each of them had a different power. What kind of person stood behind Mount Eternal? Even the people from the imperial clans were frowning deeply. Yen Ryu, the dark red divine dragon, and the others all sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't help but worry about Lin Xian. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the 2 blades of the soul that slashed at him. He snorted coldly. Reincarnation tunnel. There was a cracking sound under the ground. 2 huge shields rose into the air and blocked in front of Lin Xian. With a boom, the blade of the soul slashed on the reincarnation shield, emitting an earth-shaking sound. Countless laws circled around, causing the entire valley to shake violently. Everyone was shocked. Could he block it? The second emissary narrowed his eyes. The third emissary's blade of the soul was very terrifying. That kid definitely couldn't block it. The others also thought so. However, when the light disappeared, they were stunned. They found that the reincarnation shield was standing there without any cracks at all. It actually blocked the attack in the soul. Damn it. How was that possible? The second emissary was shocked. The third emissary's face was also cold. Lin Xian stood behind the reincarnation shield and laughed. Is that your attack? You can't even break my soul defense. Too weak. Too weak? Hearing this, the surrounding people went crazy. Who would dare to say such a thing? Even those veteran divine ancestors were sweating cold sweat. Only Lin Xian dared to say such a thing. However, Lin Xian did have the qualifications because he blocked such a terrifying soul attack. Despicable kid, are you challenging me? Well, I'll let you see my strongest soul ability. The third emissary was also completely furious. He kept forming seals with his hands. In his eyes, black runes jumped rapidly and then turned into a magical pattern. Eternal eyes, darkness descended. A cold voice sounded. At this moment, the sky and the earth turned into darkness. It seemed that even the light had disappeared. Even those supreme weapons were surprised. It was a little interesting. The people watching the battle outside exclaimed in shock. Their array formation's light screen was pitch black. They couldn't even see their fingers if they stretched out their hands. They couldn't see anything. The people of Mount Eternal laughed. It was too good that darkness had descended. This time Lin Wudi could really go and die. They had absolute confidence in this move. In the darkness, the third emissary's cold voice sounded. Lin Wudi, you should be proud of yourself for being able to die under this move. There was an extremely terrifying power in the darkness that rushed over. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. They couldn't see it, but they could feel it. Under this soul attack, no matter how strong a person was, it would be difficult to resist. This time Lin Xian was really in danger. Lin Xian stood in the darkness. Her brows were tightly knitted together. The other party's eternal eyes were indeed terrifying. Was it the strongest absolute art? He snorted coldly and formed seals with his palms. The The reincarnation eye bloomed again. Reincarnation human path. As soon as his voice fell, the right eye of the reincarnation eye began to spread with the eye as the center. At this moment, Lin Xian seemed to have turned into the king of reincarnation. The reincarnation fist. This was not a fist technique of the Six Paths sect, but a fist technique formed by the power of reincarnation in the reincarnation eye. Together with Lin Xian's divine body, it was extremely powerful at this moment. Lin Xian seemed to have turned into a true reincarnation body. Boom. Chapter 5396. Darkness descended, and the entire world turned black as if it was ink. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. However, at this time, a roar sounded, followed by the shaking of the void. Then the darkness was pierced through and a ray of light shone in. Then countless cracks appeared in the darkness, and with a crack, it shattered like glass. The whole space was completely broken. This scene was really too shocking. The darkness in front of everyone's eyes became bright in an instant. The third emissary vomited blood and flew backward. He covered his eyes and screamed, his voice was miserable. It made people's scalps tingle. Heaven, it was Lin Wuti. They saw in the broken darkness, a person like a peerless god of war sweeping through the 8 wastelands. It was Lin Wuti. Lin Wuti broke the darkness. Countless exclamations sounded, and the people of Mount Eternal went crazy. This was impossible. These people roared crazily. The darkness was so terrifying that the other party could break it. What kind of power was this? Lin Xian was also surprised. This reincarnation, the human path, was really terrifying. Lin Xian snorted coldly. So what if you have the undying eyes? You are still not my opponent. You have lost this battle. It stepped in the air and rushed forward. The third emissary's soul was injured. His eyes were closed and he roared crazily. Damn it, I won't lose. He waved his hands. The undying law on his body burned in an instant, and he turned into a flaming figure. The black undying fire jumped, and a terrifying power erupted in an instant. Heaven, his burning law, was he going to go all out? Countless people exclaimed. The power of the third emissary increased exponentially, and he attacked recklessly. Go to hell. Turning into a bolt of lightning, he rushed over and killed Lin Xian. So what if the other party had a divine body? So what if he had the Rinnegan? He had already begun to burn his life. He didn't believe that the other party would dare to fight with him. The second emissary frowned tightly. It was really beyond his expectations to be able to make the third emissary go all out. However, the effect of going all out was also very good. At least now the third emissary's strength had really become too strong. His entire body turned into a fire god phantom. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He formed a seal with his palms and boundless demonic energy gathered. A demonic shadow appeared behind him. True devil, heaven covering hand. The demonic shadow behind him struck out with a palm. The palm kept growing bigger and bigger, as if it had turned into a part of the sky and was pressing down. In the blink of an eye, it hit the flame in the figure. A clang, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. That figure let out a miserable cry. No. He was suppressed by the black palm and fell down. He wanted to resist and escape, but under this palm he couldn't escape at all. In the end he was suppressed. A violent explosion rang out. Everyone looked at the scene in shock. Lin Xian was using the great emperor's ancient scripture. Moreover, he had cultivated it to such a profound level. The demonic shadow behind him made countless people feel as if they were facing a great enemy. When the people of Mount Eternal saw it, their pupils shrank. The second emissary was shocked, and even the first emissary turned around at this moment. A terrifying light burst out from his eyes as he stared at the demonic figure. He was actually able to summon such an existence. For the first time, killing intent appeared in his eyes. He couldn't allow such a person to live. If he had the chance to kill him, he couldn't let him live. The second emissary took a deep breath after hearing this. He said, "Boss, I know." The black palm in the sky slowly disappeared, and the void returned to normal. However, the third emissary's figure was long gone. He had been eliminated. Was he eliminated again? Only 2 emissaries of Mount Eternal were left now. Quite a few of them had been eliminated by Lin Xian. That was simply unbelievable. The people of Mount Eternal gritted their teeth. Damn Lin Wuti. They must kill him. The demonic chi on Lin Xian's body disappeared. His face was cold. This battle should be able to intimidate some people. As he returned to the stairway to heaven, he turned his head and looked into the distance. The battle there had also ended. The Fire Qilin had defeated the enemy and won. However, Lin Xian was most concerned about Murong Qingqing's battle. The battle between Murong Qingqing and Yao Guang was very terrifying. The seven-colored phoenix swept through the world. The phantom of the phoenix roared in the sky. On the other side, the Yao Guang had many kinds of divine abilities on his body. The Yi clan's Immortal King Phantom, the Gu clan's Void Divine Ability, and even the Golden Crow clan's Flames. The Wind clan's Storm and the Five Elements clan's Five Elements Power. There was really too much power. Everyone was shocked. How many experts had the Yao Guang clan swallowed over the years? However, the most terrifying thing was the power of the primal chaos. It could split heaven and earth, making people think that the primal chaos physique had been revived. However, Murong Qingqing was not weak either. Could even be said that she was very strong. The phantom of the phoenix on her body swept through the world, and all kinds of divine abilities appeared. Heavenly Phoenix Palm, Flaming Phoenix Finger, Divine Phoenix Fist, all kinds of Divine Phoenix Technique. It blocked the Yao Guang clan's attack. For a moment, the two sides were evenly matched. The heavens were too unbelievable. Was this the seven-colored phoenix? It was really terrifying. No wonder the Phoenix clan valued it so much. Countless people were shocked. They knew that the Phoenix clan had the daughter of the Emperor, Fengjiu. However, she seemed to be cultivating in seclusion and had not appeared. Under normal circumstances, if there was a princess, she would be nurtured with all her strength. However, the Phoenix clan was different. Not only were they nurturing Fengjiu, but they were also nurturing Murong Qingqing. Because Murong Qingqing was a seven-colored phoenix, she had a very special status in the Phoenix clan. The seven-colored phoenix was incredibly mysterious. Outsiders only had a rough idea of who she was. Now that they had seen Murong Qingqing's strength, they finally understood why the Phoenix clan valued her so much. Because she was too strong. She wasn't any weaker than the Empress at all. Yao Guang was the double-crown champion and had swallowed many divine abilities. Even so, she was still unable to suppress Murong Qingqing. It was easy to imagine just how frightening she was. Murong Qingqing's expression was incredibly serious. In reality, she had already used all of her strength. Even so, they were only tied. It was impossible for her to defeat her. In addition, Yao Guang's expression was still quite calm. She didn't know if she still had any trump cards up her sleeve. Yao Guang's expression also sank. She hadn't expected her opponent to be so difficult to deal with. The Nine Firmaments Sub-Emperor's voice sounded out in her mind. Stop fighting. You really can defeat her. However, if you use these trump cards now, others will be careful. When the time comes, the effect won't be as good. I understand. Yao Guang nodded. Her goal was to be number one, so devouring her wasn't that important. He wanted to preserve a few of his ultimate moves and trump cards, waiting for the most critical moment to make his move. After all, whether it was the Born Dao Aptitude Lin Wudi, or the number one emissary, they were all her greatest enemies. She couldn't be careless. She stopped and said, "I'll spare your life this time." Chapter 5397. Yao Guang walked back, shocking the people around her. They didn't expect him to give up on the seven-colored phoenix. She was Murong Qingqing? She was indeed powerful. When the experts outside saw this, their faces were filled with shock. They stared at the Phoenix clan's elder phoenix with confusion and shock. The Phoenix clan actually had such an expert. The elder phoenix and the experts of the Phoenix clan were delighted. They knew that Murong Qingqing wouldn't be defeated so easily. All the other geniuses looked at Murong Qingqing with envy on their faces. If they could be with such a fairy, they would be lucky. But they knew that Lin Wudi was probably the only one who could match up to such a peerless genius. The other experts in the Extreme Path Valley also stared at Murong Qingqing. It seemed that they had overlooked an expert. They had to be careful when they met her in the future. The dog-head cultivator's eyes also lit up. He stared at Murong Qingqing. He kept shaking his walk. This was a phoenix. He didn't know if it tasted good. Hearing that, Lin Xian turned around and glared at him. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. At the same time, a terrifying soul aura appeared. Even the dog-head cultivator was shocked. He chuckled. It was just a joke. He wouldn't eat it. However, he would eat someone else. He turned his head and looked at another proud daughter of heaven beside him. She was the daughter of the river diagram. The dog-head cultivator's eyes also lit up. I didn't expect your bloodline to be so extraordinary. Looks like you're not an ordinary human. You should be a strange beast of heaven and earth in the heavenly river. I think you must be very delicious to eat. Hearing that, the daughter of the river diagram's face darkened. You damn dog, what did you say? Do you believe me? I'll tear your mouth apart. The daughter of the river diagram glared at him. Killing intent appeared in her eyes. He actually dared to have ideas about her. How despicable. He took a step forward. The water in the sky swept out like the Milky Way. At that moment, the surrounding people were also shocked. Was another battle about to happen? Taoist dog coldly harumphed. Did he think he was afraid of him? Today I'll let you know Elder Dog's prowess. He waved his paw and slapped over. The entire area turned dark. It was as if a black mountain had swept across the heavens and earth, colliding with the other party's seawater. Wherever the two of them passed, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Everything was reduced to ashes. The surrounding people were extremely shocked. These two people were indeed terrifying. There were also some people who gritted their teeth. This dog head was too abominable. It wanted to eat everyone it saw. He wondered if he could eliminate him. I think it's possible. The origin of this daughter of the river diagram is very mysterious. She is definitely related to the strong warriors of the celestial river. Countless voices of discussion rang out, and the eyes of the experts of the older generation outside flickered. They were also watching the battle. At the same time, they were also guessing the origins of these two people. The daughter of the river diagram should be the descendant of the master in the celestial river. His bloodline was definitely extraordinary. But what was the identity and background of this dog head? It was so strange and it dared to be so arrogant. Those monarch clan experts asked each other for information, but they discovered that they actually didn't know either. For a moment they were even more curious. In the extreme path valley after the attack, the daughter of the river diagram retreated. He was shocked. Although this dog head was abominable, his strength couldn't be underestimated. The dog-headed Taoist was even more shocked. You are indeed strong. When I eat you, you will definitely be even more delicious. She laughed loudly and rushed out, the white bone in her hand slashing down in the air. There was a terrifying murderous aura on the white bone. It was too terrifying, as if it could suppress everything. The daughter of the river diagram also shouted angrily. She waved her hand, and the silver river danced in the sky, spinning rapidly as if it had turned into a sky map. It spun in the air, and a mysterious light enveloped the white bone, trying to seal it. The two collided again. The divine might was vast and mighty. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air and retreated. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. To be honest, these two people were very strong. Even he couldn't tell at that moment. However, he was more curious about the dog-headed Taoist. He didn't know if the other party had any trump cards. Is that all you've got? Then against Master Dog you're really not enough. Devouring the heavens and the earth. At that moment, the dog-headed Taoist shouted angrily. He opened his bloody mouth and rushed forward. The void boiled and the silver river spun in reverse. It was as if it was about to evaporate. This made everyone's scalp go numb. Could this guy really swallow an entire world? Why did it feel like he was the same as Yao Guang? Previously they had seen Yao Guang use the devouring vortex to swallow people. Seeing this scene again, they were also terrified. Yao Guang narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. He knew that the other party's strength was different from his. Although they were both swallowing, he was forcefully obtaining the other party's bloodline and superpower. However, the dog-headed Taoist seemed to only want to eat. Moreover, the demonic heaven-devouring skill was a forbidden martial art. It was impossible for others to obtain power through swallowing. At that moment, the dog-headed Taoist was very strange. His head became extremely terrifying, and under his bloody mouth even the sky was trembling. The clouds continued to split apart, and cracks appeared on the surrounding mountain peaks. One could imagine how terrifying this attack was. The daughter of the river diagram's face changed. She used the river diagram to block it. However, the river diagram could not seal the other party. It was even swallowed by the other party. The daughter of the river diagram was sent flying while vomiting blood. Her face became extremely pale. She really didn't expect that the other party would be able to devour her exceptional divine ability. At that moment she was also injured. The dog-headed Taoist snorted coldly. He opened his bloody mouth again and bit over. The daughter of the river diagram's face was pale. If she was swallowed by the other party, it would be difficult for her to escape. She might even be eaten by the other party as food. She did not want that to happen. Damn dog-headed Taoist, I will remember you. Just you wait. The daughter of the river diagram said unwillingly. In the next moment she crushed the protective jade pendant. Her body turned into white light and disappeared. Was she defeated? Countless people did not expect that the terrifying daughter of the river diagram would be defeated. The powerhouses outside were also shocked. One had to know that she was the descendant of that peerless powerhouse. How could she stop at the top 10? The dog-headed Taoist snorted coldly. Little girl, you ran fast. As he said that, he sneezed and vomited river water that filled the sky. This was formed by the river diagram from before. The monstrous river drowned the 9 heavens. This dog-headed Taoist was too powerful. They must not offend him. Yes, he had the strength to reach the top 10. He could even reach the top 5. Voices of discussion sounded one after another. No one would dare to attack the dog-headed Taoist in a short period of time, right? At that moment, another figure walked out. He was the second emissary of Mount Eternal. The murderous intent on his body was even more terrifying. He was like a killing god. He did not attack the dog-headed Taoist. Instead, he stared at another figure. Lin Wuti, I will let you know what regret is. As he said that, he pointed at Yen Ryu. Chapter 5398. It was targeting Lin Wuti again. Countless people were shocked because they knew that the relationship between Yen Ryu and Lin Wuti wasn't ordinary. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He had eliminated too many envoys from Mount Eternal. He had long become enemies with the second envoy. He wouldn't stop even if he threatened them. He could only look at Yen Ryu and say, "You must be careful." Yen Ryu nodded her head and walked over. Although she was a proud daughter of heaven, she was facing a great enemy at this moment. She couldn't help it. The power of the second envoy was too terrifying. It had the power to destroy everything. She formed a seal with her palms and many illusions of green lotuses revolved around her. Kill. The second envoy was furious. He let out a long roar and walked forward. He waved his arms and punched continuously. The surrounding void collapsed and the earth cracked. Indestructible fist. Terrifying, incomparably resplendent indestructible intent swept in all directions. Everyone was worried for Yen Ryu because the second envoy was much stronger than the third envoy. At the same time they were shocked. How terrifying was the first envoy who hadn't made a move until now. Yen Ryu also felt a huge pressure. She formed a seal and the green lotuses around her bloomed rapidly. It was as if the world was splitting apart. A terrifying aura swept out to resist the surrounding fists. The collision between the two was like millions of mountains bombarding each other. It was extremely terrifying. Buzz. Suddenly, the thousands of fists of the other party merged into one and formed a black stream of light. This attack was truly too terrifying, causing the lotuses around Yen Ryu to split apart. The entire universe was shattering. Yen Ryu also spat out blood and was sent flying. The surrounding people were also shocked when they saw this scene. Was Yen Ryu injured? The people of the Divine Union outside were also in an uproar. This was too unbelievable. One had to know that Yen Ryu's strength was also very terrifying, especially the green lotuses used by the other party. It was even more terrifying. However, she was still injured by a punch. How terrifying was the second envoy's fist. Looking at this scene, the surrounding people gasped and felt their scalps go numb. One had to know that this was only the second envoy. There was still the first envoy. Could it be that the champion of this battle would be the #1 emissary? The experts on the stairway to heaven were also shocked. Lin Xian's face immediately darkened. Extremely cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. Ru Wu was actually injured. How hateful. He stared at the second emissary. The second envoy also turned his head to look at Lin Xian as he coldly laughed. Brat, are you regretting it now? You will die without a doubt. No one in the world can save you. Lin Xian's voice was incomparably cold. You want to kill me? Ah. The second emissary raised his head and laughed. Cultivate for another 1,000 years. You're no match for me. I'll send your woman to hell first. As he spoke, he turned his head and stared at Yen Ryu. With a roar, he shouted, Don't kill me. The law continued to expand, as if it had turned into an indestructible heavenly saber. He clasped his hands together. It slashed straight ahead. Yen Ryu's white clothes were dyed with blood, hiding her poignant beauty. In her eyes, stars were also disillusioned. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the blood that dripped down started to spin. Then it formed a blood-colored lotus, blooming continuously, forming a blood-colored canopy in the sky. A blood sword descended from within, colliding with the opponent's heavenly saber. Monstrous laws swept across the sky, and a huge crack appeared once again. The collision of the two was shocking. This Yen Ryu was also incredible. She could even turn the blood of an injured person into a peerless divine ability. She was truly a god. Seeing that his attack was blocked, the second emissary roared to the sky. Hateful. He originally thought that he could deal with this move. Who would have thought that the opponent actually had another move? Although Yen Ryu was injured, her expression became colder and colder. She kept waving the blood sword in the sky, mercilessly descending. Every strike carried the illusion of a lotus, which was abnormally terrifying. The blood sword was less horizontal, carrying a biting cold killing intent. The second emissary was really angry. He roared to the sky. With a flip of his hand, a black cauldron appeared in his hand, spinning non-stop. The black cauldron shook lightly, shattering heaven and earth. Those blood swords also kept shattering. The surrounding people were shocked. Weapons appeared. They knew that every emissary had a weapon in their hands and they were all different. Who would have thought that the second emissary would have a cauldron in his hand? A cauldron had an extraordinary meaning. Anything that was made with a cauldron was an extremely terrifying existence. For example, the Yi family's celestial emperor cauldron. Of course, this cauldron was not an extreme weapon, but it was still an extremely terrifying weapon. They wondered how Yen Ryu would fight against it. They knew that Yen Ryu had taken out an extreme weapon before. But now that they were in the extreme Dao world, she could not use her extreme weapon at all. Without an extreme weapon, could Yen Ryu fight against this black cauldron? This was the indestructible cauldron. The second emissary held the black cauldron with a cold expression. Everything could end now. For him to take out a weapon, it meant that he was completely serious. Those blood swords were all swallowed by his cauldron, turning into blood. They kept on attacking, letting out rumbling sounds. But they still could not escape. Yen Ryu also waved her jade-like hand, and a green lotus appeared in her hand. She kept swaying it. It was like a weapon. With a light wave, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. The two of them clashed again. Terrifying power erupted once again, shaking the heavens and the earth. Heavens, 100 moves had passed. Countless people exclaimed. The people of Mount Eternal also had extremely ugly expressions. In their opinion, they could finish off their opponent with one move, but the last 10 moves were not enough. But when they took out the indestructible cauldron, they all laughed. Because they knew that the battle would end soon. But now, another 100 moves had passed. The second emissary was completely furious. He slapped the indestructible cauldron with his palm. Endless and mysterious runes erupted on the indestructible cauldron. At this moment, a black palm seemed to have appeared there, holding the indestructible cauldron. That palm was engraved at the bottom of the indestructible cauldron. It could not be seen clearly before. It was only now that it was revealed. What kind of palm was this? It was too mysterious and abnormally ancient, with a prehistoric aura. Not good. Ryu retreat quickly. When this aura erupted, everyone felt their hair stand on end. Even the Fire Qilin and the others had a drastic change in expression. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. This power was too strong and it was very strange. This power did not even belong to the second emissary, so Yen Ryu could not block it. He hurriedly reminded her. Yen Ryu's expression also changed. Her figure degenerated into green lightning, shuttling back and forth. Chapter 5399. The mysterious palm, along with the indestructible cauldron, quickly pressed down. It made heaven and earth dim. This attack was too terrifying. Although Yen Ryu tried her best to block it, the lotus in front of her kept shattering. She spat out a mouthful of blood. In the end, she had no choice but to crush the protective jade pendant. She turned into white light and disappeared. Did she fail? Countless people exclaimed. They didn't expect such a proud girl to be defeated. Lin Xian frowned. Ryu was actually eliminated. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He stared at the second emissary. He wouldn't let him go. The second emissary sneered. If it weren't for the protective jade pendant, you would have died this time. After saying that, he turned to stare at Lin Xian. Kid, don't look at me with such a murderous gaze because the next one to be eliminated will be you. An extremely cold light bloomed in his eyes. However, he didn't make a move. Although he won the battle with Yen Ryu, he also used his trump card. The indestructible cauldron and the mysterious hand were very terrifying. He had consumed a lot of energy, so it wasn't suitable for him to fight now. Instead, he turned around and returned to the stairway to rest. As soon as he returned, someone stood out. This person walked over from the second emissary's side. Everyone was surprised. Did someone make a move again? Who was this person? They turned around and found that this person looked extremely ordinary. Even the second emissary was frowning. This person was on the same stairway as him. They belonged to the 9th stairway. He had met this ordinary-looking person before, but at that time the other party was very fast and disappeared in an instant. He didn't have the chance to make a move. Was this person going to make a move again? Let's see what kind of strength you have to stand side by side with me. The others were also discussing. Lin Xian was stunned when he saw the other party. He was really too surprised. He didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here. and it was an acquaintance he met a long time ago. My name is Chao Tianxing. Who wants to fight with me? The ordinary-looking person in front walked out. He looked around and said indifferently. That's right, Chao Tianxing was the person Lin Xian met in the Second Star region. At that time, the other party was a top genius of the Limitless sect, which made Lin Xian feel mysterious. Later on, this person disappeared. He didn't expect to meet him here. Furthermore, the other party was actually able to charge into the finals. One could imagine how terrifying the other party's strength was. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had previously thought that Chao Tianxing was very mysterious, but he didn't know the other party's background. Perhaps he would be able to see some of his opponent's strength through this battle. Chao Tianxing's voice fell, but no one responded to the challenge. After all, they didn't know much about Chao Tianxing. He looked quite ordinary and didn't give off any terrifying aura. But no one dared to underestimate him. The light-shaking realm cultivators were still wearing plain clothes, but killing intent was as easy as chopping vegetables for them. As such, it was impossible to judge a person by their appearance here. Who wants to fight me? Chao Tianxing spoke again. At the same time he looked over. When he saw Lin Xian nodded. Chao Tianxing also nodded in response. This surprised everyone. Could it be that this person knew Lin Wuti? Killing intent instantly appeared in the second envoy's eyes. Was this Lin Wuti's friend again? Damn it, if he had known this would happen, he would have eliminated the other party earlier. However, he wasn't in a hurry. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. As long as he made a move, he would definitely send the other party to hell. The Fire Qilin also coldly harumphed. No one accepted the challenge. You'd better scram. The other people also discussed spiritedly. They also wanted to see a joke. Chao Tianxing, however, turned his head and stared at the Fire Qilin. Do you dare to fight me? Everyone was in an uproar. They thought that Chao Tianxing would go back, but they didn't expect him to actually challenge him. Moreover, he was challenging the Fire Qilin. Heavens, the Fire Qilin was the son of a great emperor. The Double Crown King had a terrifying bloodline and divine ability. He cultivated a great emperor's inheritance. Not many people dared to challenge him. But the other party actually dared to challenge the Fire Qilin. This was too unbelievable. The Fire Qilin's expression also sank. Do you want to die? I challenge you. Do you dare to fight me? Mr. Chao spoke again. The Fire Qilin's expression was cold. You want to die? I'll fulfill your wish. He couldn't refuse. Not only were there top-notch geniuses watching, but there were also countless clans and sects watching outside. Could he not fight? If he didn't fight, he would lose all his face. Although the person in front of him was mysterious, he didn't take it to heart. I'll take care of you in 3 moves. The Fire Qilin walked out with great confidence. The surrounding people were also shocked. There was a good show to watch. After the Fire Qilin came out, he clapped his hands. The sky was filled with flames and the world dimmed. The terrifying flames flew over, illuminating the 9 heavens and directly enveloping Chao Tianxing. They didn't know how this guy was going to block it. Countless people looked at him in disgust. After all, not many people had seen him fight. Maybe this guy was just bluffing and didn't have any real skills. Boom. Intense rumbling sounds rang out, shattering everything. Everyone cried out in alarm. That guy should have been killed, right? However, when all the flames disappeared, they saw Chao Tianxing walking out. He was unharmed. Damn it. What's going on? How did this guy do it? Exclamations rang out one after another. The people outside the Extreme Path world were also stunned. What kind of divine ability did he use? The experts from the Fire Qilin cave also frowned. They felt that the Fire Qilin had met a peerless enemy. Chao Tianxing stepped on the flames and extinguished them. He said in a deep voice, "You're not strong enough. Show me your real skills. Damn it. How dare you look down on me?" A cold light appeared in the Fire Qilin's eyes. "Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." He waved his hand and a Qilin phantom rushed out. The Qilin was lifelike and the scene was shocking. The entire sky was completely drowned. There were terrifying rays of light everywhere. At this moment they were enough to kill all the experts. Boom. Chao Tianxing also made his move. He threw out a punch. With a bang, the Qilin was knocked to the ground. The flames in the sky shook and swept in all directions. Everyone was stunned. This punch was too powerful. God, what kind of physique did he have? Could it be that he also had a divine body in the universe? Lin Wuti's 9 Yang divine body, Khanate Taoism aptitude and chaotic body. The Yi family's sacred body. These were all famous physiques in the universe. They were enough to sweep through everything. Could it be that Chao Tianxing also had such a powerful physique? For a moment, Countless people were shocked. Another divine body was about to appear out of nowhere. However, Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. That was not the case. He realized that Chao Tianxing didn't have such a powerful physique. There was another reason why the other party could easily overturn the Qilin's flames. Chapter 5400. Lin Xian was really surprised. He had a guess, but he didn't know if it was right. Because just now he didn't use his Rinnegan. In the next moment, the light of reincarnation in his right eye was activated. Lin Xian was ready to watch the battle with all his might. Fire Qilin was also surprised that the other party blocked his attack. Damn it, no matter what kind of physique you have, you can't compete with me. As the Imperial Prince, although he didn't have the legendary physique in the starry sky, his bloodline was extremely powerful at that time. He charged out again. His palms formed a seal and monstrous flames formed a terrifying firestorm. The firestorm swept toward him, and at the same time, Fire Qilin also moved. Qilin trampling the sky. He stomped his foot, shattering the sky. This was the great emperor's ultimate technique, and it was very terrifying. With one stomp, he could turn a divine ancestor into ashes. At this moment, he directly stomped on Chao Tianxing. Everyone became nervous again. When the great emperor's divine ability was used, its power was much stronger than before. Would Chao Tianxing be able to resist it? Chao Tianxing's expression didn't change, and he also punched out. With a loud bang, a sky-shaking sound rang out. He actually blocked the Qilin trample. Countless people went crazy. This Chao Tianxing really had a body. What was going on with him? These people began to discuss, but they didn't feel any terrifying aura. What kind of physique did he have? These people went crazy. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. As expected, he was also shocked. It seemed that this was Chao Tianxing's real trump card. Previously, when he was in the second star region, he met Chao Tianxing. At that time, Chao Tianxing hadn't used such a terrifying ultimate technique. He didn't know what Chao Tianxing had experienced during this period of time, but one could imagine how terrifying Chao Tianxing was now. Just now, through his Rinnegan, Lin Xian saw clearly that Chao Tianxing didn't resist with his powerful physique. Instead, he punched tens of thousands of times in an instant. One had to know that at their level they could attack many times in an instant. It was easy. In fact, Lin Xian could also release tens of thousands of sword shadows in an instant. In the blink of an eye, countless powerhouses could be turned into ashes. But this was completely different from Chao Tianxing. Tens of thousands of sword shadows shot out in an instant, but the crowd could still distinguish and see. But now no one could tell that Chao Tianxing had punched out 30,000 times. Everyone thought that the other party had only used one punch. What did this mean? This meant that his opponent's speed was truly extremely fast. Those tens of thousands of fists turned into a single punch. Even the sound of the punch was no different. What kind of speed was this? Lin Xian had never seen the others before, so he probably hadn't seen them either. The Fire Qilin was furious. Damn it, Qilin tramples the heavens. The second step came over again, and what he used was the seventh step of the Qilin trampling the heavens. Under 7 steps, heaven and earth would shatter. Nothing could stop him. The power of the second step was even more terrifying than before. There was another deafening clang as Chao Tianxing blocked his fist with another punch. Its power seemed to be increasing as well. On the third step, the fourth step, and the fifth step, the Fire Qilin was suddenly sent flying. How could Chao Tianxing's strength be so terrifying? Why do I feel that it's not any weaker than the 9 Yang divine body? It was close to the primal chaos body. Could it be that he also had one of the top 10 divine physiques in the universe? Everyone was going crazy. The born Taoism aptitude also burst out with a cold light in his eyes. Because it was one of the top 10 physiques in the universe. Now, another physique that was as famous as it had appeared? But why hadn't he heard of it before? The people outside were also in an uproar. The powerhouses of the Fire Qilin cave were all stunned. Damn it, what was going on? The people of the other emperor clans were also discussing animatedly. The face of the emissary of Mount Eternal also darkened. It was him. How could it be? He shouldn't have. He stared straight ahead. On the heaven stairway, the first emissary also turned around. This time, his expression became incomparably solemn. He stared at Chao Tianxing and said in a deep voice, "Just now you punched 1,000,000 times. Didn't you?" What? The others were stunned. 1,000,000 times. What kind of joke was this? There was only one group just now. Lin Xian was also surprised. He took a look at the first time. This person was very extraordinary. He actually saw through this at a glance. Indeed, Lin Xian's Rinnegan had just captured 1,000,000 fists in an instant. It made those top experts think that it was a single punch. After hearing this, the Fire Qilin was also stunned. 1,000,000 fists? His feet still hurt a little. He couldn't even use his strength. To be honest, he didn't understand whether it was a single punch or 1,000,000 fists. Chao Tianxing looked at the first emissary of Mount Eternal and narrowed his eyes. He said, as expected of someone from Mount Eternal, "It seems that you should know my origin." As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. The second emissary also asked, "Boss, who is he? What's his origin? What kind of body is it?" The first emissary took a deep breath. "Seems that I was right." He looked at the second emissary and said coldly, "He didn't have a divine body, nor did he have infinite strength." The first emissary was stunned. The others were even more puzzled. What was going on? The first emissary snorted coldly. "Stupid. I just said that he doesn't have a divine body. His punch isn't as powerful as the 9-yang divine body or the born Taoism aptitude. But not a single punch. 10,000 punches. 100,000 punches. 1,000,000 fists. If these fists were thrown out in an instant and you top experts couldn't tell them apart, how terrifying would the power be?" The second emissary was dumbfounded. He had really thrown out 10,000 fists in an instant just now. He was stunned. With his strength he couldn't tell. The others were even more in an uproar. Impossible, this was absolutely impossible. With our strength, can't we tell 10,000 fists apart? Not to mention 1,000,000 fists, even tens of millions of fists. He threw out those fists in an instant and we could all clearly distinguish them. They were all doubtful. The first emissary sneered. "What do you bunch of trash know?" Those people were angry. "Trash, you dare to call me trash?" Mars also snorted coldly. He was a dignified emperor who laughed at the world. Now he was actually being looked down upon. However, he was indeed puzzled now. He said coldly, "Then tell me, where did he come from?" The first emissary stared at him. Chao Tianxing said coldly. He didn't expect that there was still someone alive from the legendary Light Clan who had disappeared. The Light Clan. Everyone was stunned. Even Lin Xian was puzzled. He seemed to have met someone from the Light Clan before. However, the first emissary snorted coldly. Which ones weren't considered the real Light Clan? The real Light Clan was so fast that no one could compare to them. In fact, they were almost there. Parallel to time, they could travel through time. They could go to the past with their speed. Nothing could stop them from going to the future. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They were so fast that they could ignore time. They could go to the past with a flash and travel through the future. God, this is impossible. They roared crazily. Even the great emperors couldn't do it. The first emissary snorted coldly. The great emperors couldn't do it? Do you know the strength of the great emperors? You've only heard of some legends. No one knows how terrifying the great emperors are without reaching that level. Chapter 5401. Traveling through time. Countless people were shocked. How terrifying was this speed? Even Lin Xian was stunned. Was this the real Light Clan? The people from the Emperor clan outside. After receiving the news, they were also shocked. Light Clan, what an ancient name. The real Light Clan should have been destroyed back then, but there were still people alive. Could it be that he had traveled through time and space and hid in the torrent of time? Someone frowned. But no matter what, Chao Tianxing was a member of the Light Clan. When this identity was revealed, everyone was stunned. Especially after seeing the other party's strength, they were even more shocked. Fire Qilin's expression was cold. "So you're a member of the Light Clan. But so what? A clan that was no longer around. You alone can't cause any trouble? I'll eliminate you today. Your Light Clan has become history, so don't come out again." Fire Qilin roared angrily. Qilin technique. He roared towards the sky and transformed into a Qilin. The terrifying Qilin flew out. This sound shook heaven and earth. The scalps of the surrounding people went numb. They exclaimed softly. Quickly seal off their hearing. This sound could directly make their ears bleed. One after another, the powerhouses sealed their hearing. However, Chao Tianxing was still not afraid. Since he had already revealed his identity as a member of the Light Clan, there was nothing to hide. He stood there and didn't seem to dodge. However, the truth was that he was moving at high speed. Because his speed was so fast that his afterimage hadn't disappeared yet. He appeared again. Therefore, everyone saw that he didn't move, but in fact he was dodging these sounds at high speed. Everyone looked at this scene and was extremely shocked. This was the young master's speed. It was too fast. So fast that they couldn't tell at all. After the sound disappeared, Fire Qilin's expression became extremely ugly. He realized that this was useless against the other party. Chao Tianxing said, As the descendant of the great emperor, is this all you have? Show me all your earth divine powers. Otherwise you won't have a chance if I attack. His voice wasn't that boring, but it was extremely domineering. This meant that his strength was above Fire Qilin. Fire Qilin was completely furious after hearing this. Damn it, how dare you underestimate me? Qilin arm. He suddenly stretched out his left hand, and a terrifying Qilin phantom appeared on it. Black runes condensed into a black Qilin. This arm was too terrifying. It was also a great emperor divine ability. Legend has it that one could summon the heroic souls of the Black Qilin clan to attach to one's arm. It could increase the prowess of the arm by several folds, and it could be used to kill enemies. The moment the Qilin arm appeared, it was truly horrifying to the extreme. Everyone was shocked. They realized that even if they were to face such an attack, they would not be able to withstand it. Most likely he wouldn't be able to withstand it either. It was very likely that he would be instantly turned into a bloody mist. Wherever the Qilin arm passed, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The place where Chao Tianxing was at shattered once again, but he quickly dodged. However, this was not the end. The left hand of the Qilin arm stretched out, enveloping the entire world and sealing the universe. No matter where you hide, as long as you are still in this world, you have nowhere to hide. The Fire Qilin's voice was extremely domineering. The palm formed by the Fire Qilin's arm completely enveloped the entire space. He was confident that he could kill the other party this time. In the face of this attack, Chao Tianxing did not dodge. He clenched his fist again and a sharp light burst out from his eyes. It was the same punch, but it wasn't a million punches. Instead, it was tens of thousands of attacks. It was completed completely in an instant and it merged perfectly together. With a boom, it actually blocked the Qilin arm. Everyone was shocked. The Fire Qilin also retracted his palm. The other party could actually withstand it? How despicable. Chao Tianxing rose into the air. It seems like this is all you have. Then let's end this battle. I'll let you see what it means to attack at a speed of hundreds of millions of times. After hearing this, everyone's pupils shrank. The last time it was tens of millions of times. This time it was hundreds of millions of times? It directly increased by 10 times. Could the other party's speed reach such a level? They didn't know. However, the next punch shocked them because at this moment when the fist was thrown out, it became the only thing in the world. Even those extreme weapons were astonished. This person from the Light Clan was too unbelievable. He could actually reach such a level. The others were even more stunned. Although they couldn't see the fist clearly, they could feel that under this punch, there were probably not many people present who could withstand it. The faces of the people from the Fire Qilin cave also turned ugly. "Oh, Your Highness, be careful," they roared crazily. The Fire Qilin roared angrily and used the Qilin arm to the extreme. At the same time, a long spear appeared in his hand. The fiery red spear was condensed from his bloodline. It was a peerless spear. Kill. It collided with the fist of hundreds of millions of times. An earth-shattering sound rang out. This punch created a black hole in the sky. The black vortex spun, making people's scalps tingle. How was the battle situation? They didn't know. They all widened their eyes and waited. When the light disappeared, only Chao Tianxing stood there with his hands behind his back. Although his face was ordinary, his body was carrying a mysterious luster at this moment. Everyone's scalps went numb. He eliminated the other party, the Fire Qilin. This was an emperor's son. Was he defeated by the other party with a single punch? No, it wasn't just one punch but hundreds of millions of punches. Everyone was in an uproar. It was too terrifying. This person could definitely enter the top 10. He could probably compete for the top 5 or even the top 3. Outside the extreme path world, the Fire Qilin spat out a mouthful of blood after coming out. Damn it. He couldn't accept it. Was he really beaten out? That punch just now had made him feel a fatal danger. Cracks had even appeared on his body. His Qilin skill couldn't block the other party's punch? He wanted to fight back, but he realized that he couldn't do it anymore. He had really failed. He didn't even enter the top 10. As the arch of the Fire Qilin cave, this was unbearable for him. The people of the Fire Qilin cave were also in despair. The other powerhouses sighed. There was nothing they could do. Although the Fire Qilin was powerful, his opponent was the Light Race. They were existences that swept across the world millions of years ago. They were even existences that could travel through time and space. However, later on, the people of the Light Race were destroyed. As for who it was, no one knew now. Only some of the Arch clans still had ancient records. It was an earth-shattering battle. It was said that that battle shattered the heavens and shattered the universe. In the end, the Light Race never appeared again. After millions of years, some peerless powerhouses of the lightning race appeared. They called themselves the Light Race. They thought that they had reached the limit in speed. However, everyone knew that they weren't the real Light Race because their speed couldn't travel through time and space. However, in the ancient times, the real Light Race appeared alive. Moreover, they defeated the Arch and displayed their powerful strength. Chapter 5402. More battles broke out, but none of them happened. Chao Tianxing had shocked everyone. In the end, the battles were over and there were only 11 people left. Everyone frowned. There were only 10 people in the top 10, but now there was one more. This meant that one more person was going to be eliminated. Everyone was on high alert. The people left here were all peerless experts who had the qualifications to enter the top 10. It all depended on who was unlucky. Someone had been eliminated. The two most terrifying people were the first emissary. No one dared to challenge them. Even the second emissary was invincible, let alone the first emissary. The other one was the born Taoism aptitude, which was said to be even more terrifying than the chaotic body. Now, the great Tao on his body made everyone flinch. The other one was Chao Tianxing. After Chao Tianxing displayed his extreme speed and punched hundreds of millions of times, no one dared to challenge him anymore. Apart from him, the others seemed to be facing a great enemy. The second emissary sneered. Some useless people were not qualified to stand here. He stared at Lin Xian. Then he stared at Murong Qingqing, his eyes shining with a sharp light. Lin Xian's face turned cold. Previously, Yan Ruyu had been eliminated. Then, the dark red divine dragon had also been eliminated. Now, only he and Murong Qingqing were left. Was someone trying to take advantage of him again? He stood up and stared at the second emissary. I've said it before. Since you dared to injure Ruyu, I won't let you exist in this world. Get out here. Today is the day you die. Everyone was surprised. They had not expected Lin Wudi to take the initiative to challenge the second emissary. The second emissary was very strong and could definitely enter the top 10. No one would challenge such an expert, but Lin Xian had done so. Everyone knew that he was taking revenge for Yan Ruyu. Outside, Yan Ruyu sighed when he saw this. The people of the Divine Union were nervous. Could Boss Lin do it? The people of Mount Eternal sneered. Although Lin Xian had eliminated a few emissaries, the second emissary was different. The indestructible cauldron was terrifying. It was not something the other party could imagine. This time, the second emissary would end the competition. The second emissary walked out. Brat, I originally wanted to get rid of you when I entered the top 10. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish and make it so that you'll never be able to enter the top 10. Don't worry, after you die, I won't let this woman of yours go either. He laughed cruelly. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. Provoking Mount Eternal was the wrong choice. Lin Xian coldly snorted. You want to kill me? I'm afraid you won't have the chance. He roared angrily and threw out a punch. At this moment, heaven and earth shattered. What it displayed was true power. The power of the divine body was boundless. The second emissary shouted angrily. Do you think I'm afraid of you? He had long wanted to kill Lin Xian. At this moment, his murderous aura swept out like the sea. Its entire body blossomed with resplendent radiance, turning into a sword of death. A terrifying aura pierced through heaven and earth and collided with Lin Xian's fist. The void continued to shatter as the two of them fought fiercely. 10 moves had already passed, every single strike able to split open mountains, making those sacred ancestors' scalps go numb. They were too strong. This was a battle between a dragon and a tiger. Who would be stronger this time? Some people supported Lin Xian and some people thought that the second emissary would win. Because the second emissary was too terrifying. After a short exchange, the second emissary took out the indestructible cauldron and circled around her head, releasing tens of thousands of auras. It protected his soul. Boy, I know you have the Rinnegan, but I won't give you a chance. Everyone sighed. It was over. Lin Wudi's soul was also restrained. He had no chance at all. Lin Xian sneered. He used the illusory demon scripture. A terrifying demonic aura appeared, and a demonic shadow appeared behind him. He directly charged over. Lin Xian wanted to kill his opponent. Not only did he want to eliminate his opponent, but he also wanted to kill him. He wouldn't let his opponent live. True demon overturning sky hand. As soon as he came up, Lin Xian used a peerless great magic. The demonic shadow behind him condensed into a black palm, covering the sky and the earth, enveloping the entire space. Everyone's scalp went numb. They thought that the Qilin arm had appeared again. Because when the fire Qilin used the Qilin arm, it was just like this. Connecting heaven and earth, the palm covered the universe. Now that Lin Xian used a similar peerless skill, they were shocked. The Fire Qilin was also shocked. Was this the opponent's peerless skill? The demonic emperor. You're courting death. The second emissary snorted. Since the opponent wanted to end the battle quickly, then he would fulfill his wish. He used all his strength to activate the indestructible cauldron. Below the indestructible cauldron, a palm appeared. It was so lifelike that it seemed to have crossed the universe. With the indestructible cauldron, it blasted forward. It's here. It's this move. Everyone was shocked. Murong Qingqing was nervous. This move was the one that eliminated Yan Ruyu. Yao Guang and the others also narrowed their eyes. They didn't know if Lin Wuti could withstand it. The true demon, overturning sky hand, and the indestructible cauldron collided. Heaven and earth seemed to be torn apart. A torrential force hit everyone's body, causing their blood to boil. So powerful. With a clang, heaven and earth shattered. The indestructible cauldron was forced back. The runes on it dimmed. Countless people exclaimed as they were forced back. The second emissary also retreated and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. But Lin Xian charged out domineeringly. Another strike, overturning sky hand, directly sent the second emissary flying. Cracks appeared on the second emissary's body. Half of his body turned into a bloody mist. He retreated, shattering the void. His face became pale. Damn it, you dare to hurt me? With a roar, an indestructible power appeared. His shattered body quickly recovered. But his gaze became even colder. The other party actually dared to hurt him. He couldn't tolerate it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You're not my match at all. Today is the day you die. Forming a seal with his palm, fearless lion imprint. The golden lion rushed out, roaring towards the sky and directly pouncing forward. Monstrous indestructible flames rushed out from the indestructible cauldron, charging towards the fearless lion. The two divine powers collided again. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly attacked. Void Finger. A finger pointed out, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, instantly piercing through the second emissary's glabella. The second emissary's head split open. His soul let out a miserable cry. It made one's scalp tingle. He retreated in fright and hurriedly summoned his indestructible spirit to block it. He was sent flying by the golden lion again. Although he was injured, he didn't die. Because he had indestructible power. The surrounding people were shocked. Heavens, Lin Wuti was too strong. He completely had the upper hand. Could it be that the second emissary was going to be eliminated? Outside, the people of the Gu family were stunned. Those elders even opened their eyes wide. Damn it, how was this possible? Chapter 5403. Damn it, why does he know our Gu family's ability? The elders of the Gu family roared crazily. As soon as these words were said, the surrounding people were also shocked. What was going on? The people of the Yi family frowned and asked, "Did you see it clearly?" The elders of the Gu family shouted coldly. How could they not see it clearly? They stared at the light screen and some people stared at the people of the Divine Union. The people of the Divine Union snorted coldly. They were not afraid at all because they were not afraid of the Emperor family now. Moreover, this was near the extreme Dao world. The people of the Gu family probably would not dare to make a move. Inside the extreme Dao valley, countless people exclaimed when they saw this scene. Yao Guang's pupils shrank. Void ability, you actually know this kind of ability? You also have the Gu family's ability? He had swallowed the experts of the Gu family before, so he naturally knew the power of space. At this moment he was also extremely shocked when he saw this finger. The other geniuses were also in an uproar. The second emissary's expression was extremely ugly. The first emissary said in a deep voice, "The Gu family will not let you off if you secretly learn the ability of the Emperor family." Secretly learn? Lin Xian sneered. Do I need to secretly learn? I have the great dragon sword soul and can transform everything in the world. Why can't I use a mere spatial ability? He stared at the first emissary and shouted coldly, angering the first emissary. Lin Xian ignored him. He turned to stare at Yao Guang and sneered. You still have the face to be here? Tell me, is Gu Feng dead? Were you the one who made a move on him? How do you think the Gu family will deal with you after you go out? Yao Guang's expression changed when he heard this. He shouted coldly, I didn't kill Gu Feng. Lin Xian laughed loudly. Who would believe you? You didn't swallow the chaotic body? Didn't you swallow the other geniuses? The person most likely to kill Gu Feng is you. You'd better think about how to bear the anger of the Emperor family first. Countless people were in an uproar when these words were said. The people of the Gu family outside were also gnashing their teeth. Previously they had suspected Lin Wudi, but now they suspected it was Yao Guang. Damn it, he couldn't have really swallowed it, right? Yao Guang was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was ashen. What kind of joke was this? He hadn't even seen Gu Feng's face, let alone devour him. This was a black pot and he didn't want to be the scapegoat. However, Lin Xian did not care. He had already charged towards the second emissary. What other tricks do you have? Use them all. Otherwise today will be the day you die. Lin Xian sneered. He took out the Hellfire Dragon Sword and slashed out. The dazzling sword light transformed into divine light, forming a starry sky divine sword that descended from the sky. With a boom, the void shattered. The second emissary roared. Confrontation. He used the indestructible cauldron to block the sword. However, at this moment the second sword slashed down. This sword carried the aura of the origin returning realm as it streaked across the void like an arc. It was as if a rainbow was breathtaking. The sword struck the indestructible cauldron again. The indestructible cauldron kept shaking, and the second emissary was beaten to the point of spitting out blood. Next, the Azura sword skill appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Finally, the sword slashed open the second emissary's body, severely injuring the second emissary. She gritted her teeth. Damn it. Could it be that she was going to be defeated today? She was unwilling. She roared to the sky, and the indestructible aura on her body shot into the sky. Then she spat out blood, and the blood energy soared into the sky, turning into a blood cloud. Kid, go to hell. In the blood cloud, demonic beasts appeared one after another, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. They were extremely ferocious. They were called blood soul beasts, a very terrifying ability of Mount Eternal. Using one's own blood, one could summon terrifying demonic beasts. These demonic beasts had a murderous aura and could directly devour the souls of others. At this moment, hundreds of blood soul beasts appeared, covering the sky and earth. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb and they retreated in horror. Damn it, how could there be such a thing? What kind of demonic beasts were these? Countless people were terrified and even Lin Xian frowned. He felt a threat to his soul. In the next moment he snorted coldly. I don't care what kind of monster you are, I will kill you with my sword. He shouted angrily and the sound of a dragon rang out. The 10,000 dragon divine blood bloomed, and 10,000 dragon shadows appeared behind him. Wind dragons, thunder dragons, Tyrannosaurus rexes, sea dragons, and all kinds of giant dragons soared into the sky. They rushed over in an overwhelming manner and fought with the blood soul beasts. Lin Xian's every move carried an invincible power. These blood soul beasts were torn to pieces, and the blood cloud in the sky was also shattered. A few more swords passed. The second emissary's body was torn apart. The first emissary's expression completely changed. He said, "Come back, you are no match for him." He could see that there was still a gap between the two sides. The second emissary could not defeat Lin Xian. As soon as these words came out, the others were in an uproar. Lin Wudi was really too strong. The second emissary gritted his teeth. Was he defeated? He was unwilling. Just as he was hesitating, Lin Xian suddenly rushed over. Boom. He punched out, covered in monstrous demonic aura, forming a terrifying demonic sea. It was as dark as ink, swallowing everything. No one could see the scene inside anymore. What happened? The second emissary's expression changed. He shouted angrily and wanted to escape. But in the next moment he found that the world was spinning, and his surroundings had changed drastically. An even more intense pressure pressed down, and he came to a magical space. Where was this? Get lost. He tried to open the sky with his palm, but found that it was useless. Lin Xian kicked over and forced the second emissary back. He said, "Today is the day you die. You want to kill me? Are you kidding? I am an undying existence. And I have a protective jade pendant. Even if I really lose, I can escape safely." A protective jade pendant? Are you sure? Lin Xian shouted coldly. Suddenly, a dragon-shaped sword energy appeared in his hand, and he slashed forward. The second emissary's hair stood on end. He used his indestructible power to block. But this sword directly sent the indestructible cauldron flying, and he was also instantly cut in half. He screamed crazily. Ah, the power of the dragon sword soul. Damn it. How can you use so much power? This was the extreme path world. The dragon sword soul definitely couldn't come out. It could only stay in Lin Xian's body. Previously he could rely on the power of Mount Eternal to resist. But now the great dragon sword soul had flown out. His little bit of strength was not enough. Lin Xian sneered. Because this is my world. Here, I am the king, I am the ruler. So I will let you live. You will die. You definitely won't live today. With that, Lin Xian slashed out again, splitting the other party's body again. The dragon sword soul was invincible. The power of Mount Eternal was incomparably mysterious. But at this moment, it recovered somewhat slowly. The second emissary was completely stunned. He wanted to escape and break through the void, but he couldn't do it. At this moment, Lin Xian slapped out again. The demonic god seal carried the aura of the Tao of Dragon. The two great techniques merged together. The second emissary was smashed into pieces, and he turned into a bloody mist. Oh, he was finally terrified. He crushed the protective jade pendant and turned into a white light, wanting to leave. However, at this moment Lin Xian sneered. You can't escape. The black jar fell from the sky and turned into a vortex. It directly swallowed him. Chapter 5404. The heaven-swallowing jar descended and swallowed everything, enveloping the white light. The second emissary originally thought that he would use the protective jade pendant to leave the other party's space and come to the outside world. Although he was unwilling to lose, it was impossible for the other party to kill him. But when he opened his eyes and found that his surroundings were pitch black, he was terrified. Damn it, where was this? He roared crazily. At the same time, he felt a huge pressure, as if a millstone that could destroy the world was constantly crushing him. It completely shattered his body. Blood flowed and dripped around. He used the power of immortality, but just as his body recovered, he was crushed again. This power made him despair. Damn it, the aura of the extreme path. He was terrified that the other party could still use the power of the extreme path. No, this power was not something he could resist at all. He roared towards the sky, and an immortal rune appeared between his brows. At the same time, a low voice sounded as if it had crossed the ancient time and space. The rune between his brows carried a mysterious power. For a moment, it actually blocked the black vortex. The second emissary laughed sinisterly. Brat, you don't even know who's standing behind Mount Eternal. So what if you have an extreme path weapon? It's just the extreme path. Our Mount Eternal has a true mortal paragon. What do you have to fight us? He laughed proudly. Lin Xian saw that the heaven-swallowing jar was not killed. The other party was also stunned. The immortal paragon. He frowned. What was this? However, the power emitted from the other party's glabella did indeed shock him. It turned out that this was the other party's true trump card. This power had already surpassed the second emissary's own. It was not something that the sacred ancestor could use. But so what? Lin Xian shouted coldly. The other party dared to eliminate Yen Ruyu, so he had already made up his mind to kill him. He would not let the other party leave alive. I don't care if you are a mortal paragon. In this world I am the ruler. Today you will die without a doubt. He roared. The heaven-swallowing jar controlled the other party and flew towards the barren area inside. The second emissary sneered. I am an immortal existence and I have the power of a mortal paragon protecting me. There is nothing you can do. His face was full of disdain, but the scene around him gradually changed. A desolate aura appeared, causing the symbol between his brows to shake violently. A roar sounded, suddenly sounding like thunder from the nine heavens. The second emissary felt fear. What was going on? Why did he feel that the power of a sovereign in the human world was being suppressed? Oh, where is this? What is this place? What kind of space was this? He was actually able to suppress human sovereigns. They were very clear about the mortal supremes, even though they had never seen them before. However, that power was capable of easily allowing them to live or die. This was the strongest power in the world. But now, the power of a human sovereign was actually being suppressed. This world was simply too terrifying. At this moment, the heaven-devouring jar exploded with power once again, turning the second emissary into a bloody mist. The black vortex obliterated everything. A black rune fell from the bloody mist and turned into a stream of light, trying to escape. Lin Xian slashed back with his sword. With a clang, it was forced to retreat and its arm went numb. Was this the power of a human sovereign? It was really too strong. If it wasn't for the protection of the great dragon sword soul, he would have been injured. A mere human ant dares to stop me? Inside the black rune, a voice that had experienced the vicissitudes of life suddenly sounded. It was abnormally deep. Lin Xian snorted. I don't care if you're a human sovereign. You're just a rune and you want to escape? Be destroyed. The heaven-devouring jar exploded and charged forward. Black vortexes continued to appear, covering the sky and blocking off the enemy's path. The black rune crashed into the vortex as if it had entered a quagmire. In the end, it flew into the distance. However, not long after, it started to roar crazily. Damn it, what kind of world was this? This was a god. Before it could finish, a power suddenly came from the heaven and earth, knocking it down and turning it into ashes. Lin Xian was also stunned. This power wasn't from him but the power of this world. Was there still power in this world? He was shocked. The Hellfire Dragon beside him was also kneeling on the ground and worshipping. What was it worshipping? Lin Xian flew over and asked, "Do you know what's going on?" The Hellfire Dragon shook its head. It didn't dare to say. After walking for a long time, the Hellfire Dragon stood up. It said, "Kid, you put so much power in this world and there's also the heavenly spring of life. I think this world has recovered a little. That power just now should be the power that this world gathered after it recovered a little. This human sovereign of Mount Eternal was really unlucky. With his identity he shouldn't be able to come here. That was why he dared to shout and release his power here. He was definitely going to die." Lin Xian felt that this sword world was getting more and more mysterious. There were many secrets waiting for him to discover. The Hellfire Dragon didn't know much. However, the more mysterious this world was, the more benefits it would have for him. Lin Xian took a deep breath, the corner of his mouth raised. The indestructible cauldron was sealed by him, and then he grabbed it in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the black vortex swallowed all the blood around him. The second emissary no longer existed. The indestructible rune disappeared. With a flash, Lin Xian walked out of the sword world. Countless people were waiting outside. Because in the valley ahead, demonic aura filled the sky and covered everything. Everyone couldn't see the scene inside clearly. They didn't know how the battle was going. Why was it so quiet there? They didn't hear any sounds of fighting? Could it be that the battle was already over? They were puzzled. Suddenly, the demonic sea in front of them rolled. The demonic aura gradually dissipated. Countless people exclaimed. At this moment, the geniuses on the heaven stairway and the experts outside all stared at the front. They wondered how the battle was going in the end. When the demonic aura disappeared, they saw a figure standing between the heavens and the earth. The person was covered in demonic aura like a demon god. It was Lin Wudi. They exclaimed. Lin Wudi appeared. Where was the second emissary? They looked around and didn't see the second emissary. The experts on the heaven stairway exclaimed. Could it be that he was already eliminated? The first emissary's face changed. No way, the other party could actually be eliminated? Yao Guang and the others frowned. Murong Qingqing laughed. On the other hand, the people outside of Mount Eternal had gone mad. The third emissary gritted his teeth and said, "Impossible." Because they didn't notice the second emissary coming out. The elders also frowned. They checked. They checked in all directions but didn't find anyone. The Fire Qilin frowned. What was Lin Wudi doing? Long Wu of the Thousand Dragons Imperial Court exclaimed. Look, what was Lin Wudi holding in his hand? Everyone looked over and gasped in shock. Chapter 5405. In the extreme Dao Valley, when the first emissary saw the indestructible cauldron, his pupils constricted. Damn it, why is this thing in your hands? Where is the second emissary? He had a bad feeling about this. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He threw the indestructible cauldron on the ground and said in a deep voice, "He has already gone to hell. I said that he will definitely die today." What, dead? Everyone was stunned. What? That was impossible. One had to know that they had protective jade pendants. Even if their lives were threatened, they would be instantly teleported out. The first emissary's expression changed. She instinctively didn't believe it. Because not only did they have protective jade pendants, but they also had the indestructible rune. It was given to them by the human sovereign. There definitely wouldn't be any accidents. But the indestructible cauldron was separated from the second emissary. This was beyond his imagination. They were the 10 emissaries and each emissary had a weapon. The weapon and their lives were intertwined. The weapon would be with the person, and the weapon would only be separated when the person died. Now that the indestructible cauldron appeared and the second emissary disappeared, it meant that the second emissary had most likely died. How did he do it? For the first time he was filled with shock. Originally he didn't care about Lin Xian because he was high and mighty. But now there was a trace of fear in his heart. A person who could ignore the power of a human sovereign? In the sky, the few extreme Dao weapons were also puzzled. How was it possible that he was dead? Didn't he give them life-saving jade pendants? The life treasure bottle was shocked. The black tortoise also frowned. Didn't you guys feel a mysterious aura just now? The destructive spear said. This kid definitely had a secret, and it was a huge secret. Other than the 9 Yang divine body and the great dragon's descendant, He should have other trump cards. But what was it? Should we capture him and take a look? The destructive spear said. The black tortoise shook his head. No, don't act rashly. There are so many people watching we can't make a move. And didn't you notice? That mysterious aura doesn't seem to be a threat to us. Maybe he's on our side. The few extreme Dao weapons discussed in the sky. In the end, they decided to observe in the dark and not touch Lin Xian. But the others went crazy. The second emissary was so terrifying, but he was actually killed. This wasn't an elimination but a real death. It made their hair stand on end. Previously, they had heaved a sigh of relief when they found the protective jade pendant. But now, it seemed that protecting the jade pendant was not enough to completely protect their lives. At least, there was an exception in front of Lin Wuti. Lin Xian threw away the indestructible cauldron. He had no use for it. He could not use the indestructible energy on it. He only took it out to warn those people. Since he dared to challenge him, not only would he eliminate him, he would kill him. He stared at a few figures. For example, the first emissary and Yao Guang both had killing intent in their eyes. The first emissary's face was cold. Since the other party had killed the second emissary, he would not let the other party off. Yao Guang also frowned. The Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao in his mind said that this brat was very dangerous. However, I wanted his body even more. His secrets were all mine. The Quasi-Emperor had a greedy look in his eyes. The death of the second emissary shocked countless people. At the same time, the battle reached a new level. Now there were only 10 people left. These 10 people had all entered the top 10, and countless people looked up to them. The 10 people stood on the sky stairway and were looked up to from all directions. The extreme-grade weapon in the sky also descended. Congratulations on successfully entering the top 10. Your names will be engraved on the sky monument and be admired by all ages. The spectators outside were extremely envious. Xiang Huaqilin, Kunpingzi, and the third emissary were gnashing their teeth. They were originally very strong, but they had no chance of entering the top 10. They could only be eliminated. Damn it. Especially when they saw their enemy Lin Wuti standing there with a look of disdain, they were so angry that they vomited blood. The Divine Union cheered. Great, Boss Lin had entered the top 10. Next, he should be able to kill his way into the top 3. That was for sure. Boss would be the final champion. They cheered. The people from Mount Eternal sneered. Stupid thing. With the first emissary here, Lin Wuti definitely had no hope of winning. On the other side, the people from Dao 1 sect were also confident. The Born Dao aptitude was enough to sweep through everything. The people from Purple Mansion sect were also shining. Now they had 2 people in the top 10. One was Yao Guang, the other was Xiaoying. Xiaoying could fight for the top 5, and Yao Guang could definitely fight for the top 3. He might even be first. Because Yao Guang had swallowed too many experts. The next 3 days of rest would give the top 10 enough time to recover. 3 days later, the top 10 ranking competition would start. This would be the final top 10. Although there were rewards, the reward for the first place was even more amazing. It was something left behind by the great emperor. What exactly was it? Everyone was looking forward to it. Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing sat down cross-legged. Lin Xian grabbed Murong Qingqing's hand and gave her the divine spring of life in the sword world. It allowed her to recover quickly. At the same time, he transmitted his voice. Qingqing, the next competition will be extremely dangerous. If you encounter something you can't fight against, you must leave early. Lin Xian could kill the second emissary because he had a powerful trump card. The others might not have no trump cards. If they missed the opportunity to leave, it would be really dangerous. Murong Qingqing nodded. Brother Xian, don't worry, you don't have to worry about me. On the other hand, I'm afraid there are many people who want to kill you. You have to be careful. Lin Xian laughed. No worries, it's impossible for them to kill me. This time I will let them know. What is true invincibility? Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a terrifying light. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the top 10 experts on the heaven stairway all stood up. The spectators outside also took a deep breath and clenched their fists. The final battle was finally about to begin. The extreme-grade weapon in the sky descended. Black Tortoise looked around and laughed. Next would be the ranking competition. It was still a challenge, but there weren't many specific rules. You can decide for yourselves. After he finished speaking, he soared into the air and arrived above the 9 heavens to observe silently. The surrounding people were all stunned. Decide for themselves? What was this? Wasn't this just breaking the rules? Countless people were shocked. Would someone join hands? They all looked at the array formation in front of them. The people from Mount Eternal had ugly expressions. Now that there was only one person left inside, there was no way for them to join hands. However, the Yi family elder said that even if there were more people, they would not join hands. Chapter 5406. As soon as these words came out, the others also nodded. Indeed, they had reached this point. Every one of them had the potential to become a great emperor. These people were unruly. Moreover, they were determined to reach the peak of martial arts and would never team up. Sure enough, the top 10 people frowned after hearing this. The first emissary said coldly, "Then let's continue according to the previous rules and start the challenge. Who will go first?" As soon as he finished speaking, the first emissary looked at Lin Xian with a trace of cold killing intent in his eyes. There was an immortal rune throbbing between his eyebrows. When he was resting for 3 days, he saw a strange scene through the rune between his eyebrows. It was their Mount Eternal. The aura was pervasive. In the depths of Mount Eternal, there was a mysterious figure sitting cross-legged there. This was their mortal sovereign of Mount Eternal. That mortal sovereign seemed to have sensed the death of the second emissary and roared into the sky, shattering the starry sky. The terrifying Mount Eternal shook violently. Who is it? Who can destroy my power? The first emissary's scalp went numb when the mortal sovereign was angry. He knew that if he couldn't kill Lin Xian, he wouldn't be able to quell the mortal sovereign's anger. Even if he couldn't kill Lin Xian, he had to suppress Lin Xian and bring him back to Mount Eternal for the mortal sovereign to deal with. Therefore he was eager to kill Lin Xian now. However, he didn't act rashly, because there were a few people who could threaten him. Innate Taoism aptitude, super strong physique, and an ancient light clan. That speed also shocked him. Moreover, Lin Xian himself also surprised him. He still couldn't understand what kind of power could destroy the mortal sovereign's power. What kind of super strong trump card did Lin Wudi have? Would he be able to withstand it? Therefore, he didn't make a move because he wasn't confident. He was waiting. It was best if Lin Wudi was exhausted and injured in the battle. Then he would make a move. In the previous round, there were rules to protect the people who had fought. Those who had fought couldn't continue fighting. This was to protect the warriors while they recovered. However, there were no rules in this round. He said that he would follow the previous rules, but when the time came, he could make a move. As long as the extreme-grade weapon didn't stop him, no one could stop him. Therefore, he was waiting for the right opportunity to kill Lin Wudi. However, although he didn't attack Lin Xian, it didn't mean that he wouldn't attack others. Because he was really too angry. They were the 10 great emissaries. They could have swept the world, but now he was the only one left. Especially after Lin Xian had killed the second emissary, his killing intent had surfaced. He had to release this killing intent, so he turned his head and stared at a figure. "It's you, get out here and accept your death." He stared at He Qi. Countless people were shocked. Was the number 1 emissary going to take action? He Qi's face turned gloomy. Although he had entered the top 10, he was unable to do so. He was also the double crown champion, but when facing the first emissary, he still acted as if he was facing a great enemy. This person gave him an unfathomable feeling, but since he had already challenged him, how could he not accept the challenge? He took a step forward and shouted, "If you want to challenge me, then bring out your full strength." Behind him, 9 large black flags danced in the air, sweeping in all directions. A terrifying aura pervaded the air, and the first emissary shouted coldly. A sword appeared in his hand. It was a black indestructible sword. He slashed out, enveloping that place with black qi. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. How terrifying. Burning incense, Murong Qingqing and the others' pupils shrank. This was the power of the first emissary. It was really too strong. It was completely beyond their expectations. In that instant, their souls seemed to have been split open. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together as well. The spectators outside were in an uproar. The Fire Qilin, Kunpingzi and the others were shocked. It was too strong, completely exceeding them. The people from Mount Eternal laughed heartily. Did you see that? This was the power of the first emissary. Who could resist such power? Was it settled? Yao Guang sneered. This was too weak. Xiaoying frowned. He felt that the black chess piece shouldn't be so easy to deal with. The first emissary also frowned. He did feel that the terrifying killing intent in front of him hadn't disappeared yet. In the next moment, 9 large flags came out from the cracks in the sky. They held up the sky and sealed the universe. Black phantoms appeared on the flags. His cold voice rang out. In the 9 revolutions killing array, the figures on the 9 flags were spinning non-stop. A terrifying killing power emerged. They charged toward the first emissary, Yao Guang. In his mind, Quasi-Emperor Jiushao was also surprised. It was actually this kind of formation. This is a very ancient formation. I thought it should have been lost in this era. I didn't expect him to be able to use it. Yao Guang sucked in a mouthful of cold air after hearing that. One could imagine how frightening that spirit formation was. The first emissary also shouted coldly, "It's useless. You're no match for me." The sword technique in his hand danced continuously to counter the array formation around him. At the same time, the ancient aura on his body became even more terrifying. It wanted to destroy the 9 flags. The black phantoms on the 9 flags kept appearing and disappearing mysteriously. No one knew which one was his real body. When the emissaries of Mount Eternal outside saw this, their brows furrowed tightly. This array formation was actually so strange. The third emissary smiled. "Don't worry. Boss's strength is very terrifying. Even if it's a peerless formation, so what? As long as Boss is serious, nothing can go against him." Sure enough, after 10 moves, the first emissary's face darkened. "Can't you tell the real one from the 9 flags? Then I'll destroy them all." Sword Chi soared into the sky. The first emissary pointed his sword at the sky. Inextinguishable sword intent appeared, turned into a sea and pressed down from the sky. At this moment, it directly attacked the 9 flags. Struck by the sword beam, the flag shook incessantly. The light radiating from the flag dimmed, as though it would break at any moment. Black phantoms roared angrily and once again used his peerless magic. The 9 flags changed their formation again. They spewed out terrifying flames, struck out terrifying thunder, and had a sea of blood to resist. However, the first emissary was really too terrifying. His sword technique carried endless killing intent. After the two exchanged more than 100 moves, Black Phantoms was defeated. The 9 flags were sent flying in different directions. Black Phantoms was also helpless. With a sigh, he turned into white light and was eliminated. However, he didn't go out. Instead, he went outside the extreme Dao Valley. This meant that he had been eliminated. His ranking had fallen to 10th. Countless people looked at this scene and cried out in shock. Was it over? It was really too exciting. Although Black Phantoms was defeated, it was incomparably shocking. Black Phantom's formation was too terrifying. However, the first emissary was even more terrifying. His sword technique was shocking. Every sword could split the sky and the earth. He was definitely a top swordsman. Who could stop such a person? Burning Incense, Xiaoying, and the others frowned. They realized that if they met the first emissary, they would probably end the battle within 100 moves. Chapter 5407. The strength of the first emissary shocked countless people. They looked at him with reverence in their eyes. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. He stepped forward and looked at the first emissary. He said, "You're very arrogant, eliminating one person right away. But don't worry, I'll eliminate you next." His eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. The first emissary's expression turned cold. He laughed coldly. "Who allowed you to challenge me? Don't you know that I have time to rest?" Lin Xian laughed loudly. "Are you crazy? The seniors of the extreme grade weapon said that there are no rules in this battle. I can challenge you immediately." When he said this, everyone's expressions changed. Heavens, they hadn't thought of this. The first emissary's expression sank. "Do you want to die?" Qin Xian snorted coldly. "Do you dare to make a move? Come on, aren't you high and mighty? Don't you want to kill me? I'll give you a chance. Come here." The first emissary snorted coldly. "I've expended a lot of energy and can't fight well. I'll fight you when I've recovered." As he spoke, he turned around and left. "Coward." Lin Xian sneered. This made the first emissary very angry. When had he ever been looked down upon? However, he had indeed expended a lot of energy, so he didn't dare to make a move against the mysterious Lin Wudi. Lin Xian also retreated. The scene was a little strange. At this moment, Yao Guang walked out. He looked around and laughed coldly. "Then it's my turn." Everyone was shocked. Yao Guang? He was also a terrifying expert. They didn't dare to make a move easily. Yao Guang stared at Burning Incense and said, "Let's fight this fairy." Burning Incense took a deep breath. As a top-tier genius, how could he be afraid? He walked forward. She was wearing a flaming armor and had a head of fiery red hair. She had a beautiful and fair face. She looked like a goddess of fire. She formed a seal with her palms and flames erupted from her body, sweeping through the sky. The entire world was set ablaze. Burning Incense didn't dare to be careless. She unleashed 100,000 volcanoes with her hands. They erupted together and swept towards Yao Guang. Feeling this power, the surrounding people were shocked. This woman was too terrifying. She was definitely not weaker than the Fire Qilin. Even though he wasn't an imperial prince, these flames were too terrifying. These were the legendary heaven-burning flames. Radiance erupted between heaven and earth, as brilliant as fireworks. Yao Guang laughed loudly and slapped out with her palm. It also transformed into a flaming palm, covering the world like the hand of a fire god. It collided with the other party's heaven-burning flames. The two of them erupted with an even more resplendent light. Everyone was stunned. This light-shaking realm cultivator was incredible. Its flames were just as terrifying. Outside, the Fire Chelan's expression instantly changed. "Damn it, this is the power of our Fire Chelan cave." He gritted his teeth. Everyone else was stunned. It seemed that light-shaking realm cultivators had also swallowed Fire Chelans before. Two types of flames erupted between heaven and earth. At this moment, Yao Guang's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind burning incense and struck out with his palm. This was the Gu clan's void divine ability, and it was executed to perfection by him. Burning incense didn't dare to be careless. Naturally, he knew how terrifying a light-shaking realm cultivator was. A pair of flaming wings appeared on his back and turned into a shield to block the attack. With a clang, he was knocked back. At the same time, he slashed out with his sword. The flaming sword slashed behind him. Yao Guang laughed coldly. The phantom of a king appeared, standing indomitable as if he had turned into a fire god. It directly shattered the sword energy. He was incomparably powerful, suppressing burning incense. Burning incense suffered, and her face became incomparably pale. She was suppressed and couldn't even resist. There was nothing she could do. Her opponent was simply too powerful. The surrounding people were also shocked. The light-shaking realm's various ultimate techniques were endless, and it was simply impossible to resist. In the end, burning incense was defeated. He arrived outside the extreme path realm and was ranked 9th. Burning incense laughed bitterly. It was really unlucky to encounter a light-shaking realm cultivator. Otherwise, he could have held on for a while longer and wouldn't have been defeated so easily. After light-shaking realm 1, he looked around. It seemed that he wanted to continue challenging. However, in the end he laughed coldly and walked back. He wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to play this game slowly. After light-shaking realm, the dog head walked up. He asked who would fight Lord Dog. A dog didn't have the right to be here. Xiaoying harumphed coldly. "I'll kill you." He strode out. Previously, he had swallowed 2 Bodhi fruits and his strength had increased greatly. This time he was full of confidence. Therefore, when he saw a dog acting arrogantly, he was naturally angry. "You want to challenge Lord Dog? If you don't taste good, then Lord Dog will defeat you directly." As he spoke, he waved his paw, tore through the void and charged forward. Xiaoying harumphed coldly and slashed out. This was the shadowless blade and it couldn't be seen. Only a sonorous sound could be heard. The dog paw was forced back. Lord Dog harumphed coldly. He waved the white bone in his hand, and it collided with the shadowless blade. An earth-shattering sound rang out and the void shattered. It was shocking. The shadowless blade appeared and disappeared mysteriously, and the white bone was even more terrifying. At this moment, the dog-headed Taoist waved his hand, and the big iron pot on his back flew out. It enlarged in the sky like a canopy and fell directly. Xiaoying was hit and he instantly became dizzy and spat out blood. "Despicable guy. Woof woof, you dare to fight Lord Dog?" The dog-headed Taoist laughed coldly as he controlled the iron pot and the white bone to attack. As he ran over, he opened his bloody mouth and tried to bite him. Xiaoying was disdainful, but when his physique clashed with the other party, it was instantly bitten. One of his arms was bitten off, and he cried out in pain as blood splattered everywhere. "Damn dog." He was shocked. The other party's teeth were way too sharp. Lord Dog laughed coldly. "Watch me swallow you. Swallow heaven and earth." He used a terrifying great divine ability and swallowed the entire world. The sky instantly darkened and one couldn't even see their own fingers. When the people outside saw this, they were also shocked. This dog was too terrifying. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes. Until now, he still didn't know where this dog came from. However, there was no doubt that the other party was terrifying. Although Xiaoying's strength had increased greatly, he was probably going to lose this battle. Xiaoying used his shadowless body technique to dodge quickly. However, under the bloody mouth, he had nowhere to hide. In the end, he could only use all his strength to resist. One slash cut through the heaven and earth, and another slash swept through the void. After a few slashes, he couldn't break through it. In the end, he was almost swallowed by the mouth. He could only be eliminated. Damn it. Xiaoying gritted his teeth. He didn't expect to be 8th. This was completely different from what he had expected. In his opinion, he should be able to make it into the top 5. Damn it. His eyes burned with anger. The people outside also sighed. The 8th place was indeed not as good as they had hoped. Fortunately, they still had hope, and that was the light-shaking realm. With the strength that the light-shaking realm had displayed so far, it was definitely not a problem for him to enter the top 3. He might even be first. Chapter 5408. The Dog-Headed Taoist 1. He walked back with his head held high and the iron pot on his back. Xiao Ying, who had lost, had an ugly look on his face. He couldn't accept losing to a dog. However, he didn't have the chance to fight anymore. At this moment, the born Taoism aptitude cultivator finally moved. He had always been mysterious and rarely fought before. That was because he didn't need to fight. Just by standing there, his aura could scare away a group of people. No one dared to challenge him. Therefore, she advanced all the way. However, it was now time to decide the champion, so she had to fight. The born Taoism aptitude cultivator walked out and looked at the first emissary. You didn't dare to fight before because you were exhausted. You should have recovered by now. If you recover, come out and fight me. Her voice was ethereal and very pleasant to the ears. However, it was like a clap of thunder in everyone's ears. Heavens, she was going to fight the first emissary. Everyone was excited because both the first emissary and the born Taoism aptitude cultivator were popular candidates for the championship. Everyone thought that the winner would be decided in the end. They didn't expect such a top-level collision to happen at the beginning. Countless people were excited. The people outside were also in an uproar. The elders of Mount Eternal were nervous. That was the born Taoism aptitude. They didn't know how terrifying it was. The first emissary's face was cold. To be honest, he wanted to fight with Lin Xian, but the born Taoism aptitude cultivator suddenly challenged him. He said coldly, "Do you think I'm afraid of you? Then I'll defeat you first. I'll kill that kid." "You won't defeat me," the born Taoism aptitude cultivator said coldly. Then he glanced at Lin Xian in the distance with a mysterious light in his eyes. She turned her head and walked to the center of the field. Lin Xian was stunned. What did that look mean? Could it be that this person knew him? As for the born Taoism aptitude cultivator, he only knew that she was a woman. However, he couldn't see her face clearly. She was surrounded by the Great Path. It was too terrifying. Even with his Rinnegan, he couldn't see the other party's appearance. However, she felt that her voice was familiar. However, she couldn't remember who it was. She didn't know who it was. The first emissary's face was gloomy. He stared at the born Taoism aptitude cultivator. "Do you know Lin Wudi? Originally, I only wanted to defeat you. If you want to know Lin Wudi, then I will send you to hell." He took out the undying sword and slashed forward. The terrifying aura shocked everyone. That sword attack was terrifying, yet the born Taoism aptitude remained fearless. He formed a seal with his palm, forming a Dao seal. Then he slammed it forward, blocking the sword. Dao will filled the air, and it was incomparably terrifying. "Show me your true strength. Otherwise, you don't deserve to be my opponent." As soon as he finished speaking, countless great paths fell from the sky and transformed into the Great Path Milky Way. There was a total of 81 great paths. It was incomparably terrifying, and it directly enveloped the first envoy. The first emissary roared angrily, and the sword in his hand soared into the sky. Like a bolt of black lightning, it swept in all directions. It clashed with the 81 great Daos and the Milky Way. These were two peerless great divine abilities. Regardless of whether it was the sword technique or the Great Path, they were both extremely terrifying. The collision between the two made the surrounding sky prides feel as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Burning Incense, Xiao Ying, and the others were all shocked. In the face of such an expert, they couldn't resist at all. Murong Qingqing's face was also solemn, and Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It had to be said that these two people were very powerful. The people outside were also shocked. The elders of Mount Eternal and the Dao Yi school clenched their fists. Obviously, they couldn't calm down. At that moment, Chao Tianxing also walked over. He said, "You are Yao Guang, right? You cultivate demonic techniques and have countless supreme techniques. I want to fight with you. Do you dare?" Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that someone would want to fight at the same time as a peerless battle. Moreover, the challenger was Yao Guang. The challenger was from the ancient light race. This was also a fierce battle. Everyone was stunned. Even Lin Xian was surprised. "Why not? I have never experienced the light race before." Yao Guang snorted coldly. He was very confident in his own strength. "So what if you are from the ancient light race? Let's see if you can really travel through time." He walked out. Everyone was shocked. Two great battles were about to break out. It was really too unbelievable. Yao Guang used his spatial abilities as soon as he came up, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. He wouldn't give his opponent a chance to attack. However, Chao Tianxing was also very fast. Although he didn't know any spatial abilities, his speed was extremely fast. It was no different from spatial teleportation. In fact, it was even more terrifying. With one punch he cut off Yao Guang's path. What fast speed! Yao Guang's pupils shrank. He waved his hand. Countless wind blades appeared in his hand. He slashed at his opponent. The saber slashed through the air, but the other party hit him instead. He was blasted away. However, an extremely terrifying method power appeared on his body. It was a super powerful body tempering technique. Yao Guang's chi and blood roiled. His expression was gloomy. Interesting. You make me very interested. Next, I'm going to get serious. He shouted angrily, and a black vortex appeared above his head. At the same time, flames, wind, lightning, the Yi clan's illusions, and the Gu clan's spatial abilities all attacked. They fought with Chao Tianxing. Chao Tianxing only had one type of speed, and that was extreme speed. The place where the two of them were fighting was completely boiling. On the other side, the battle between the Born Dao aptitude and the first emissary was also extremely terrifying. The first emissary's expression became extremely ugly. He felt that he was being suppressed. Damn it, I don't believe it. With a roar, his sword technique became even more terrifying. The murderous aura made the scalps of the sacred clan members tingle. However, the Born Dao aptitude was incomparably calm. Every method power was extremely profound. Even the extreme Dao weapons were amazed. As expected of the Born Dao aptitude, his comprehension of the great Dao was naturally superior. Such a person was already very terrifying. In the future he would probably stand at the peak of the martial Dao. Looking at these two battles, Lin Xian's blood boiled. He looked around. There were 4 people fighting now, and 3 people had been eliminated. There were only 3 people left. Him, Murong Qingqing, and the dog-headed man. He wouldn't challenge Murong Qingqing, so he could only look at the dog-headed man. The dog-headed man's face darkened. Kid, do you want to attack me? Damn it, don't forget that I barbecued meat for you. You can't do this. Lin Xian smiled. I have no choice. You're my only opponent. Why don't you fight with me first? With that, Lin Xian walked out. The dog-headed man was helpless. Then don't blame me for swallowing you. A hint of viciousness appeared in his eyes. The surrounding people were shocked again. Lin Wudi also wanted to fight. Chapter 5409. Devouring the Heavens and Earth. The dog-headed Taoist immediately charged out, opening his bloody mouth as he charged at Lin Xian. Lin Xian activated his divine body and didn't dodge at all. Instead, he charged towards the dog-headed Taoist's fangs. With a loud clang, the dog-headed Taoist roared. Damn it, it hurts so much. He didn't want to fight anymore because he realized that Lin Xian's physique was really strong. This was the legendary Nine Yang divine body. It was an extremely strong physique and Lin Xian had cultivated it to an extremely high level. Lin Xian laughed. Are your teeth bad? With that, he threw a punch. The dog-headed Taoist quickly took out his iron pot and used it as a shield to defend. With a loud clang, the iron pot shook. He roared and white bones flew out and hit Lin Xian. Lin Xian used his sword energy to block. A hungry dog pounced on its food. The dog-headed Taoist pounced over and pushed Lin Xian to the ground. Then the dog-headed Taoist's paw slapped towards Lin Xian. This paw made Lin Xian feel a sense of danger because he felt that it was similar to Whitey's paw. If he was hit, his soul would probably be dizzy. So, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of yin-yang energy. It turned into a yin-yang image and rotated to block the paw. With a loud clang, the dog-headed Taoist's paw was pushed back. Then Lin Xian kicked the dog-headed Taoist and sent him flying. He soared into the sky and activated the yin-yang image, releasing a terrifying yin-yang sword. The sword energy slashed onto the dog-headed Taoist's body, causing flames to dance on his body. He roared crazily. Lin Xian used his powerful sword technique to chase after the dog-headed Taoist. The dog-headed Taoist kept dodging but some of them still hit him, causing him to cry out in pain. He said, "Woof woof, Grandpa Dog won't fight anymore." He had no choice. His opponent's physique was strong and his sword energy was so terrifying that it could threaten him. Furthermore, the iron pot couldn't cook him. The dog-headed Taoist felt helpless. So you admit defeat? Lin Xian withdrew the yin-yang diagram and asked in a deep voice. The dog-headed Taoist shook his head. Admit defeat? How is that possible? I've only lost to you and not to anyone else. Lord Dog still has the strength to fight. His eyes began to scan the surroundings and it seemed like he wanted to do something. Lin Xian also had a strange look on his face. He didn't know it could be played like this. As for Xiao Ying and the others who had been eliminated, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. This dog was too shameless. They had already been eliminated after losing one round, but this damn dog was still unwilling to come out and wanted to continue fighting. At this moment, their expressions changed because an earth-shattering sound suddenly erupted in front of them. The battle between the born Taoism aptitude and the number 1 emissary was over. The number 1 emissary was sent flying backward. A crack appeared on his body and imperishable blood dripped down. The born Taoism aptitude was extremely terrifying. The great path danced on his body. She took out a heavenly imprint that was as terrifying as a heavenly deity. It seemed to take human form and directly descended. The first emissary screamed as the cracks on his body became even bigger. His body had been pierced through. He had lost. The first emissary had actually been defeated. Countless people were shocked. Was the born Taoism aptitude already so powerful? This was a good opportunity. When the dog-headed Taoist saw this, he let out a cold laugh. With a flash he charged forward. He bit one of the first emissary's arms. The first emissary used disintegration. He felt one of his arms being bitten and dragged into the distance. Damn dog, he roared crazily and wanted to attack the other party. However, that arm was instantly swallowed by the dog-headed Taoist. The dog-headed Taoist's eyes lit up. The imperishable blood was pretty good. On the other side, Yao Guang and Chao Tianxing were fighting, and it was difficult to determine a winner. Chao Tianxing was too fast and Yao Guang couldn't hurt him. Yao Guang had mastered many ultimate techniques, so he wouldn't be defeated in a short period of time. However, at this moment, the dog-headed Taoist saw that the first emissary's body had been shattered and he had swallowed a piece of his arm. Yao Guang's eyes also turned red. He roared angrily and directly abandoned Chao Tianxing. He turned to attack the first emissary, wanting to devour his body. When he saw this, the first emissary roared crazily. The imperishable blood surged forth as he tried to recover his body. Everyone became nervous at this moment. If Yao Guang was able to devour the imperishable blood, then he would have an undying body. Who would be his opponent? At this moment, a dragon image descended from the sky and slashed through the sky. It blocked Yao Guang's path. It even forced Yao Guang back. Yao Guang spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. He gritted his teeth and roared, "Damned Lin Wudi, you dare to stop me?" The one who had attacked was Lin Xian. After Lin Xian blocked his opponent, he laughed coldly. "You don't have the chance to devour others in front of me. Also, the first emissary is my opponent." The first emissary took advantage of this opportunity to quickly recover his body. He had lost an arm, but he had also recovered. However, his expression was extremely ugly. First, he had been injured by the innate Dao aptitude, and then his arm had been swallowed by a dog. More importantly, Yao Guang had dared to target him. What made him vomit blood was that the one who had saved him was actually his enemy, Lin Wudi. He had saved him because he wanted to kill him personally. What kind of situation was this? This time he had lost a lot of face. After being slapped in the face by so many people, he tilted his head back and roared, unable to endure it. He stared intently at the dog-headed Taoist, his eyes burning with anger as he charged over. Damn dog, die. On the other side, Yao Guang had also attacked. He couldn't devour the first emissary, but he could devour this dog. This dog had swallowed the imperishable blood's arm, so it definitely had imperishable blood's power. If he tried to devour the dog, he might be able to obtain this power. As such, he was going to charge over. The dog-headed Taoist howled in pain. Damn, you two attacked together and broke the rules. Yao Guang laughed. There were no rules in this battle. The first emissary harumphed coldly. Did you think about the rules when you ambushed me? Kill. When the two of them unleashed their power together, it was extremely terrifying. Although the dog-headed Taoist was terrifying, he couldn't withstand 2 rounds of attacks. In the end, he could only helplessly use his life-saving jade pendant, transform into a streak of white light, and leave. He was eliminated. The dog-headed Taoist was currently in 7th place. After coming out, he gritted his teeth. Damn it, if it was a one-on-one battle, Lord Dog wouldn't be afraid of you. Damn it, you ran fast. The first emissary roared. Yao Guang's expression was even colder. He had missed such a good opportunity. Damn it. There were only 6 people left in the sky. The 6 of them faced each other and didn't attack rashly. They had fought previously and now they were starting to recover. The scene suddenly became quiet. The people outside were extremely nervous. They knew that this was the calm before the storm. After the silence, there would be an even more terrifying battle. The one with the innate Dao aptitude was the first to stand up. He merged with the innate Dao aptitude and recovered very quickly. She looked at Murong and said, "The seven-colored phoenix will fight with me. Qingqing, be careful. He shouldn't have any killing intent. Just go all out." Lin Xian said from the side. Chapter 54:10. Countless people were looking forward to the battle between the born Taoism aptitude and Murong Qingqing. Lin Xian also walked out and stared at the first emissary. It was time to put an end to this. For the first time her face turned cold. She knew she couldn't wait any longer. Seeing this, the crowd exclaimed again. Oh my god, Lin Wudi was going to fight the first emissary again. It seemed like they were going to have a showdown. The two battles were also very exciting. Murong Qingqing formed a seal, and a seven-colored phoenix appeared beside her. It was as if she had traveled through time and space. On the other side, the born Taoism aptitude formed a seal with her hand and charged over with supreme power. When the two collided, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It was as if the world was going to end. The crowd exclaimed, and the older generation experts felt their scalps go numb. They were too powerful. Wherever the two of them passed, the surrounding void was constantly shattered. Nothing could stop them. Although the two of them were women, their auras were extremely terrifying. They were like goddesses that could sweep away everything. On the other side, Lin Xian also made his move. He threw out a punch. Nine Suns' divine fist. Then a huge crack appeared in the void, and the divine fire on it swept out. It was as if a sun had descended on the world. Slash. The first emissary roared and waved the indestructible sword with terrifying power. It was as if a star had fallen. A casual attack was so terrifying. The sky-shaking sound was heard, and the crowd felt their scalps go numb. What kind of power was this? They couldn't resist such power at all. Thunder King Xiaoying and the others were terrified. Fire Qilin. They were also gnashing their teeth. Damn it, these people were too strong. They had surpassed them. Even if they hadn't been eliminated, they couldn't resist. After a few moves, Lin Xian and the first emissary both retreated. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing light. Swordsman? Fine, I'll defeat you in the sword Dao. He also took out the Hellfire Dragon sword, and an extremely terrifying aura appeared on the blade. He slashed out with the Shura sword technique. This was the sword of killing. The first emissary used the indestructible sword technique. The two of them fought, and in the blink of an eye, they had clashed thousands of times. This speed was also very fast, but it was still different from Chao Tianqing's speed. Everyone could see countless afterimages intertwining. It was as if two gods were fighting. Too strong, a fierce battle between dragons and tigers evenly matched. Both of them were young great emperors. The people of Mount Eternal had gloomy and cold expressions on their faces. They were well aware of how terrifying first-timers were. But now, Lin Xian was actually evenly matched with his opponent. This didn't mean that Lin Xian's strength was far beyond their imagination. Damn it, that's impossible. The third emissary clenched his teeth, and the other elders also clenched their fists. They were looking forward to killing the emissary and taking revenge. 9-star sword technique. Lin Xian roared as 9 stars revolved behind him. Starlight fell from the sky, sweeping away everything. Lin Xian laughed loudly. Is that all you've got? Mount Eternal couldn't even withstand a single blow. Indestructible shaking the universe. The first emissary roared angrily. An extremely terrifying indestructible qi appeared on his body. It formed a huge mountain that shattered the entire world. The huge mountain descended from the sky and was about to suppress the entire sky. Seeing this scene, everyone was terrified and in despair because the information was too terrifying. It was as if the real Mount Eternal had arrived. As expected of the first emissary. They could feel that the first emissary was more powerful than all the previous emissaries. Lin Xian roared angrily as the divine flame appeared on his body. At the same time, he used the great emperor's divine ability. Black demonic qi surged out and turned into demonic dragons that roared between heaven and earth. Those were sword qi that connected heaven and earth with supreme killing aura. 81 streaks of sword qi turned into demonic dragons that surged between heaven and earth. They blocked the Black Mount Eternal. Not only that, the Black Mount Eternal was constantly shaking from the attacks. The huge rocks in the forest above all cracked and rolled down. A huge black vortex appeared in the sky. It was beaten into a black hole. Kill. Lin Xian roared angrily and used the Void God Finger again, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. 9 streaks of sword chi appeared beside the first emissary in an instant and attacked his vital points. The first emissary roared angrily, "Get lost!" He was like an indestructible god. With monstrous power, he slashed at the Void God Princes. The two exploded, forming a terrifying light that illuminated everyone so much that they couldn't open their eyes. At this moment, all the spectators were shocked. These two people were really too powerful. "Kid, I'll let you know the true power of indestructibility." The first emissary roared at the sky. The more he fought, the braver he became. His sword chi seemed to have turned into thousands of mountains. It was extremely powerful and fell down. Heavens, Lin Wuti was suppressed. Could it be that he was going to be defeated? It seemed that Mount Eternal was still more powerful. Countless exclamations sounded. Outside, Yen Ryu and the dark red divine dragon were also nervous. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his hand and struck out a Tai Chi diagram. Yin and Yang sword chi flew out and turned into Yin and Yang gods. He roared at the sky. He opened the sky with both hands and blocked the terrifying sword chi. At the same time, Lin Xian used his Rinnegan. A ray of reincarnation light cut through the void. In an instant, it attacked the first emissary. The first emissary cried out in alarm and hurriedly raised his sword to block. With a clang, he blocked the ray of reincarnation light. However, his body was grabbed by the Yin and Yang gods. With a forceful tug, he was torn into two halves. This scene was extremely shocking. The first emissary was injured and he was seriously injured. Someone cried out in alarm. The elders and emissaries of Mount Eternal all stood up. This was impossible. Lin Wuti could actually injure the first emissary. The first emissary's cracked body roared at the sky. All the indestructible flames inside swept out and swept across all directions. He forced the Yin and Yang gods back. His broken body healed again, and his eyes became incomparably terrifying. "And you've completely angered me." A mysterious indestructible rune appeared between his brows. At the same time, a palace appeared behind him. There was sword chi, thunder and flames condensed into a thunder-fire palace. The palace bloomed with terrifying and destructive power. When the palace opened, there was a small hall inside. There was a stone tablet on it with 3 words engraved on it: Eternal Hall. Thunder-fire Palace, Indestructible Hall. The people from Mount Eternal also cried out in surprise. "Boss, you've even used this kind of divine ability?" It seemed that he was really going to go all out. Lin Wuti had already frightened him to this extent? These people were too shocked. They knew that this was a peerless divine ability. With their boss's strength, it was completely crazy to use it. They all laughed. Lin Wuti was going to die. Although the others didn't know what it was, they could feel a mysterious and terrifying aura coming from the palace. It made their hair stand on end. Chapter 54:11. A mysterious palace appeared in the sky, making everyone curious. What kind of extreme weapon was that? Black Tortoise's expression changed. It was actually such a thing. He could actually summon such a thing. This number 1 emissary was not simple. What was this kid going to do? Was he going to display that kind of power? Brother Annihilation looked at Lin Xian. His eyes flashed. Everyone looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian furrowed his brows as well. He could feel a frightening power. It seemed to be surrounding him. At this moment, the number 1 emissary sneered. "Kid, you're finished?" He formed a seal with his palm and accepted my anger. With a roar, the Immortal Palace rushed out and enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian punched out, but the Immortal Palace did not even shake. In the next moment, he entered the Immortal Palace. The stone tablet of the Immortal Palace appeared behind Lin Xian. The indestructible chains wrapped around Lin Xian and nailed him to the stone tablet. Heavens, what was that? Was Lin Wuti sealed? Seeing this scene, countless people exclaimed. Lin Xian shouted coldly. "Get lost." Endless flames appeared on his body. The 9 Yang divine fire was extremely strong. It was enough to turn everything into ashes. However, the immortal stone tablet did not even have a crack. Heavens, this was a supreme treasure. Countless people exclaimed. Lin Xian also frowned. At this moment, the Thunder Fire Palace flew over and stopped in front of Lin Xian again. The number 1 emissary stood in the Thunder Fire Palace with a cold expression. "I am the ruler. I can decide your life and death. Lightning strike." With a roar, endless thunder flew out from the palace. Every single one of them was imbued with the power of destruction as they shot straight at Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the 9 Yang divine body to block it, but this was the indestructible thunder. It was a power that surpassed everything. Lin Xian's divine body was actually split open. Saint blood dripped down, piercing through heaven and earth. The Eternal Palace shook violently, but it still firmly suppressed Lin Xian. Are you hurt? Yen Ryu and the others exclaimed. The dark red divine dragon was also gritting its teeth. Damn it, what kind of mystical ability was this? In the distance, Mount Eternal's third emissary sneered. This was an exceptional divine ability. Even the Double Crown King would undoubtedly die after entering. Unless that kid was a Triple Crown champion, he was dead for sure. What? So powerful? The expressions of the Yi and Gu family members changed when they heard this. The people from the Fire Qilin Cave and the 10,000 Dragon Court also cried out in alarm. Was this the peak power of Mount Eternal? He was really too strong. The young geniuses shook their heads. They knew that they were no match for him. Chao Tianxing, Yao Guang and the others frowned when they saw this. In the face of such power, the only way was to dodge in advance. Yao Guang's expression was slightly better because it had photon speed. He was confident that he could dodge everything. However, Yao Guang frowned. If he was enveloped, his ending wouldn't be too good, right? He looked into the distance. Lin Wudi, will you die here? Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor said, you should be prepared. That kid might fail. Because this was an Extreme Dao world, he couldn't use an Extreme Dao weapon. Without an Extreme Dao weapon, he couldn't use the Great Dragon Sword Soul. With the power of the Nine Yang Divine Body and the Rinnegan, there was no way to resist. Eternal Palace and Thunder Fire Palace. Yao Guang was surprised. You know the origin of the palace? Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor nodded. He knew that it was related to the human sovereign of Mount Eternal. The power he left behind surpassed everything. Lin Wudi couldn't resist it. Unless an Extreme Dao weapon appeared. I know. Yao Guang's face sank. It seemed that Lin Xian was finished. He had to make preparations. When a thunder struck Lin Xian felt a destructive power. This power was too shocking, and the indestructible stone tablet was suppressing him. He was unable to open the sword world. Mount Eternal actually possessed such terrifying power. Lin Xian was shocked. He knew that he was careless. This was the power of a human sovereign. Previously, when he killed the second emissary, the power of a human sovereign had appeared. However, the sword world was directly destroyed, causing Lin Xian to think that the power of the immortal sovereign was only SOSO. But now he realized that he was wrong. This power definitely surpassed that of a saint. Could it be that the immortal sovereign was a quasi-emperor? This kind of power was indeed terrifying. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, he couldn't contend against a quasi-emperor now. However, the only fortunate thing was that the quasi-emperor didn't come personally. It was just a rune left behind by a quasi-emperor. Although it was terrifying, it wasn't impossible to resist. Lin Xian shouted angrily. He used the Nine Yang Divine Body to the extreme, and the indestructible chains on his body swayed rapidly. He seemed to want to break apart the sky and tear everything apart. When the first emissary saw this, he snorted coldly. Want to leave? It was useless. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of thunderbolts descended together. These thunderbolts were extremely terrifying. They pierced through Lin Xian's body. Endless cracks appeared on Lin Xian's body. Blood dyed his body red. When everyone saw this scene, they all shook their heads. Lin Wudi was finished. The faces of the people from the Divine Union also turned pale with despair. Oh, Brother Xian. Murong Qingqing, who was in the middle of the battle, sensed this scene and her expression changed. Because she was too excited, she made a mistake and was sent flying by the palm of the Born Taoism aptitude. She vomited blood, dyeing the void red. The Born Taoism aptitude frowned and retracted her palm. She didn't make a move. She looked into the distance and said, "You can't use your full strength in this battle. Let's stop for now. After Lin Wudi's battle is over, our battle will continue." Murong Qingqing looked at the other party and said gratefully, "Thank you." She went to the side and watched the battle nervously. "Brother Xian, you must hold on." On the other side, the beautiful eyes of the Born Taoism aptitude flickered. "Lin Xian, is this really the end of your path?" After hundreds of inextinguishable thunderbolts, Lin Xian's Nine Yang Divine Body was severely injured. However, he still couldn't escape. He used the Eye of Reincarnation. 6 reincarnations. The world shook rapidly. The power of reincarnation wanted to destroy everything. However, it was useless. This time it was a flame attack. The inextinguishable flames emerged from the Thunder Fire Palace. Lin Xian's injuries worsened. Ah! The first emissary looked up and laughed. "Lin Wudi? You dare to be invincible? You are no match for me at all. Today I will use your head as a sacrifice to the second emissary." His eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. He stood in the Thunder Fire Palace like a supreme deity. This is the last attack. Lin Wuti, I will destroy your soul with this attack. Thunder and fire intertwined. The two inextinguishable powers fused together. They formed a sword of thunder and fire. No, it was 72 swords of thunder and fire that rotated between heaven and earth. As long as these swords pierced through Lin Xian, then Lin Xian would really die. Everyone became nervous. Lin Xian's eyes also erupted with an extremely cold light. Chapter 54:12. In the face of this final attack, Lin Xian's eyes shone with a shocking light. He knew that he couldn't wait any longer. He had to use another kind of power. It wasn't that he didn't have any tricks up his sleeve, but he wanted to use that power at the last moment. He didn't expect that it would be brought forward. The power he wanted to use wasn't an extreme weapon, nor was it the great dragon sword soul, because these two powers were suppressed in the extreme Dao world. However, he also obtained a treasure, the heavens of the battle map. Lin Xian had cultivated the heavens of the battle map before, but he hadn't used it yet. Now he was finally going to use it. Number 1 emissary, you're very strong. To be able to injure me so severely, I admit that the power of Mount Eternal is very terrifying. But it's impossible for you to kill me. You can't defeat me at all. Let me show you what true invincibility is. Lin Xian's voice rang out. It resounded in all directions. Countless people were in an uproar. Lin Wuti was still so confident. Could it be that he still had some tricks up his sleeve? The people of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty sneered. What kind of joke was this? He couldn't use an extreme weapon, so he was definitely going to die. The people of the Gu family also snorted. He was still stubborn even when he was about to die. The number 1 emissary laughed loudly. If you still have any tricks up your sleeve, then take them out. Otherwise, I'll see how you die. He waved his hand and 72 lightning and fire swords flew out. This was a sure kill power. Facing such a dangerous attack, Lin Xian's body emitted endless light. It spun quickly in front of him and condensed into a battle map. The heavens of the battle map directly charged out and collided with the 72 lightning and fire swords. An earth-shattering sound rang out, followed by a scream. A figure flew out. Had the victor been decided? Countless people widened their eyes. In their opinion, Lin Xian was definitely going to lose, but when they saw that the one who flew out and screamed was the number 1 emissary, they were all stunned. How was this possible? These people were crazy. One had to know that Lin Xian had been suppressed by the Thunder Fire Palace and the Eternal Hall, and his divine body had been injured by the lightning. Blood splattered across the 9 heavens. Next, he would be pierced by the 72 swords and eliminated. But why was the number 1 emissary injured? What other trump cards does Lin Xian have? At this moment, everyone was stunned. Everyone from Mount Eternal was stunned. Even Yao Guang, Chao Tianxing and the others were stunned. This was completely different from what they had imagined. Older brother Xian. Murong Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time he was puzzled. What exactly did Lin Xian use? The indestructible palace appeared amidst the light that filled the sky. At this moment, the indestructible chains had already been shattered. Lin Xian stood there with a battle map in front of him that kept spinning. That diagram was extremely terrifying. The pores of the Born Great Path aptitude shrank rapidly. What a terrifying power. As a Dao body, she had fused with the heavenly Dao. Now he could feel how terrifying the firmament battle map was. Yao Guang's expression instantly darkened. This kind of power was something he had never seen before. It was not a Taiji diagram but a new kind of power. This Lin Wuti had actually obtained such a terrifying trump card. If it wasn't for the fact that his life was in danger this time, he probably wouldn't have used it. If he had encountered Lin Xian before, would he have been able to resist such a firmament battle map? Lin Xian held the firmament battle map in his hand and walked out like a god of war. He looked ahead disdainfully. At this moment his body emitted crackling sounds. The indestructible battle armor covered his body and quickly healed his injuries. His divine body healed and divine fire surged into the sky. He looked ahead and said in a deep voice, "I told you that you would be the one to lose." The number 1 emissary spat out a large mouthful of blood. Endless cracks appeared on his body. The destruction of the 72 Thunder Fire Swords had already caused him to suffer a backlash. In addition, he was hit by the firmament battle map and was severely injured. He was unwilling to accept this. He roared crazily. "Impossible, how could you destroy the indestructible palace? The Thunder Fire Palace and the indestructible palace. What kind of power was this? It was beyond his own power. How could the other party resist it? What exactly was that battle map?" Outside, the people of the Monarch clan were stunned. The elders of the Eternal Mountain were also stunned. The people of the Purple Mansion and the Thousand Dragon Imperial Court were gnashing their teeth. Lin Xian had another trump card. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful one. The people of the Divine Union were all laughing. Great Boss Lin was indeed strong. Lin Xian walked forward like a god of war. Let me show you what true invincibility is. The battle map in his hand danced and directly attacked the number 1 emissary. The number 1 emissary was sent flying. The number 1 emissary roared crazily and used the indestructible sword to resist. It was like a true dragon swallowing thousands of miles. However, it couldn't stop the firmament battle map at all. This was too terrifying. This was an exceptional mystique obtained from a page of the Heavenly Book. Although the number 1 emissary was strong, he was also being beaten back. He could only summon the Thunder Fire Palace and the Indestructible Palace to defend in front of him. However, in the end, the Thunder Fire Palace and the Indestructible Palace were destroyed by the firmament battle map. This time, the number 1 emissary's body was refined into a bloody mist. He screamed miserably. Lin Xian chased him between heaven and earth. He kept escaping, but his injuries were getting worse. Lin Xian was too strong. The more he fought, the more powerful he became. In the end, he could only crush his protective jade pendant and escape. Lin Xian stood in the field, the sea of blood surging around him. He was like a god as he sneered. Mount Eternal was nothing more than this. Who else would want to fight with him? At this moment he displayed a strong power that shocked everyone. He was too strong. Lin Wuti had actually eliminated the number 1 emissary. Oh my god, he might be able to fight for the championship this time. Lin Xian's divine body, Rinnegan Eye, and super strong sword techniques were extremely terrifying. The number 1 emissary wasn't weak either. The indestructible power was an existence that couldn't be killed and had the indestructible rune. It was said that no one below the Triple Crown King could resist the power that was summoned at the end. However, at the most critical moment, Lin Xian actually took out a battle map and reversed the situation. It was really shocking. Yao Guang's face darkened. She felt the danger. Chao Tianxing's eyes also flashed. As expected of the Lin Wuti, he knew. Back then he knew that this person was definitely not a fish in a pond. He would definitely soar to the sky. Now that so many years had passed, he was indeed strong. The Born Dao aptitude was also surprised. The Dao of the Heavens diagram? What a terrifying theurgy. She looked at Murong Qingqing and said, Lin Xian is no longer in danger. We can continue the previous battle. Murong Qingqing also smiled. She was completely relieved that Lin Xian was no longer in danger. He nodded and said, Thank you for giving me time before. I will do my best from now on. There was no enmity between the two of them, nor was there any resentment. They only had a competition for the Great Dao. The two heavens chosen once again engaged in a fierce battle, but Lin Xian was focused on Yao Guang. It's time to deal with you. Chapter 54:13. Alcade's pupils constricted, and he immediately used the void to escape. The place where he had been standing was torn to shreds. How terrifying. Countless people were stunned. Even someone as powerful as the Alcade realm could only dodge and not face it head-on? The extreme-grade weapons in the sky, the Black Tortoise and the Aquarius of Life were shocked. They were even more shocked than the others. The Heavens Battle Map. He actually had something like this? How did he get it? It seemed that he had obtained the Heavenly Book of One Leaf. He had been there before. This youth's luck was quite good. He had even obtained the Heavens Battle Map. One leaf of Heavenly Book was in their extreme-grade realm. How could they not know? However, that place was impossible for ordinary people to reach. Even if they went there, they wouldn't be able to obtain the Heavens Battle Map, because there were even more frightening existences there. However, Lin Xian had actually obtained it and even managed to successfully cultivate it. This kind of luck surprised the extreme-grade weapons, and they became even more curious about Lin Xian. The destructive spear frowned. If this kid was on our side, then it would be fine. But if he was on the other side, then he would be in danger. This was a variable. The Black Tortoise, however, laughed. I think you're overthinking it. If he was able to obtain a Heavenly Book of One Leaf of Heavenly Book, then he should be on our side. The Aquarius of Life nodded. Yes, that's right. I think so too. Let's see if this kid can reach the final step. The extreme-grade weapons continued to watch the battle silently, but the battle below was extremely frightening. It was a battle between the innate Dao body and Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing attacked with all her strength, but the innate Dao body was too strong. She was suppressed. She would be defeated within 100 moves, but she wouldn't give up so easily. On the other side, Alcade's expression was extremely ugly. The Heavens Battle Map in the opponent's hand was a threat to her life. Moreover, the opponent had attacked her directly after defeating the first emissary, giving her no time to prepare. Lin Xian, are you sure you want to attack me? Alcade said coldly. Lin Xian harumphed coldly. Nonsense. Another heavens battle map, drawing a streak of light as it charged forward. This time it covered the entire sky. At the same time, Lin Xian opened his Rinnegan. Even if the opponent used the Void Divine ability again, he wouldn't be able to escape. Indeed, the light-shaking realm cultivator immediately activated a Void-type Theurgy art, but Lin Xian was even faster. Another strike of the heavens battle diagram. A terrifying battle intent erupted from it and turned into a god of war. Jianghu charged over. Yao Guang roared. The 9 heavens immortal king released an illusion. He faced the sky and roared, resisting Lin Xian's palm. With a hong sound, he was blasted backwards, directly tearing apart the earth. An endless cloud of dust filled the air. Everyone was stunned. A light-shaking realm cultivator had been sent flying. Are you hurt? When the people from the Z government saw this, their expressions became ugly. The first emissary gritted his teeth. He had already lost. To be honest, his mind was completely blank right now. He had never imagined that he would actually lose. He was only ranked 6th. Damn it. One had to know that her goal was to be number 1, to be the champion. Now she wasn't even in the top 5. Damn it. Lin Wudi. He was going crazy with anger. He wanted to kill his opponent, but the heavens battle diagram in his opponent's hand was too terrifying. Especially now when he saw Yao Guang being sent flying, he didn't know why, but his heart seemed to have calmed down a little. Yao Guang had swallowed so many experts, but wasn't she still sent flying in an instant? Damn it. Yao Guang roared and charged out from the ground. Endless primal chaos aura spread out from his body. The terrifying thing was that his power could shatter heaven and earth, as if he was going to split open the universe. Everyone was shocked. The power of primal chaos had appeared. This was the strongest power that Yao Guang had swallowed so far. Why do I feel like he's a soul body? Damn it, this guy won't become the second primal chaos body, right? There were also people from the primal chaos race who came to watch the battle. When they saw this scene, they were so angry that they vomited blood. Their soul sky had died and was swallowed by this brat. Damn it, after Yao Guang displayed the power of primal chaos, she became incomparably terrifying. Heaven and earth cracked. Lin Xian sneered. It seems that your primal chaos body isn't strong enough. Because compared to the primal chaos body, you're a little weaker. As he spoke, he waved the battle map again and charged over. Yao Guang roared and fought against the primal chaos body. The two collided, but he was still suppressed. After 3 moves, he was sent flying again and a large crack appeared on his body. The heavenly battle map split him in half. Lin Xian pursued with the heavenly battle map in his hand. He was like a god descending to suppress his opponent. Not good. The faces of the people from the Purple Mansion changed drastically. How dare you? The mansion master roared crazily, but he was outside the extreme path realm and couldn't stop him. Yao Guang's pupils shrank. Damn it, what should he do? At this moment he was really stunned. The 9 firmament quasi-emperor in his mind also gritted his teeth. Run. Don't fight him head-on. In the extreme path realm, his quasi-emperor power couldn't appear. Otherwise, he would be killed by the extreme path realm weapons in the sky. Yao Guang fled quickly, but Lin Xian's Rinnegan could always lock onto him. After 5 moves, she was in danger again. She was about to be sealed. At this moment, the cry of a phoenix came from afar. Lin Xian's palm stopped. He didn't attack Yao Guang again. Instead, he turned his head and saw Murong Qingqing retreating, blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. The others also cried out one after another. Victory and defeat had been decided. The 7-colored phoenix was defeated. She stood there and didn't attack again. She said, "You lost." Murong Qingqing sighed and nodded. "You are very strong. I am not your opponent." This time she fought very happily with the innate Dao body because she had used up all her tricks. However, she was still not her opponent. She lost wholeheartedly. Lin Xian also flew over and said, "Qingqing, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Qingqing shook her head and laughed bitterly. "Brother Xian, I lost. Next it's up to you. You must win." Lin Xian gave her a bottle of pills and said, "Don't worry. Leave the rest to me. Go outside the valley and rest." Murong Qingqing flew outside the extreme path realm. Lin Xian took a deep breath and stared at Yao Guang again. Yao Guang's expression turned cold. Lin Xian sneered. "You can't even withstand a single blow. You are no longer my opponent." He wasn't in a hurry to suppress Yao Guang because Yao Guang couldn't escape. He planned to challenge the innate Dao body first and then fight Chao Tianxing. When everyone was no longer his opponent, he would be the real champion. He looked at the innate Tao body and said, "Take a rest. You rest and recover first. I will fight with Chao Tianxing first. After that, I will fight with you." After speaking, Lin Xian flew over and looked at Chao Tianxing. He said, "Old friend, we meet again. I didn't expect you to be from the ancient light race." Chapter 54:14. The battle between Lin Xian and Chao Tianxing shocked countless people once again. Yao Guang heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was no longer in danger of being eliminated. However, his expression was extremely ugly. The fact that Lin Xian hadn't attacked him meant that he didn't take him seriously at all. Damn it, what was his status now? What was his status? He had devoured so many experts that he even possessed the power of the primal chaos. Who would dare look down on him? However, Lin Xian was looking down on him and even ignoring him. This difference was hard for him to accept. Despicable Lin Wudi, one day I will personally get rid of you. Yao Guang quickly formed hand seals. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to recover from his injuries. On the other side, the Khanate constitution was also absorbing the power of the Great Path to recover. The other people were also in an uproar. Lin Wudi was too strong at the moment. First, he had defeated the first emissary and injured Yao Guang, almost eliminating him. Now he was going to challenge Chao Tianxing and fight with the Khanate constitution. He wanted to sweep through the 8 desolations single-handedly. If he defeated all his opponents, he would become the champion and be invincible. Invincible Lin, was the name of invincibility going to become a reality? Many people were excited. The people of the Divine Union were looking forward to it. On the other hand, the people of the Purple Mansion were gnashing their teeth. Yao Guang's injury made them nervous. Now they were praying that the ancient light race could defeat Lin Wudi. Chao Tianxing also stepped forward and said, "I will also go all out in this battle." As soon as he said this, the void around Lin Xian suddenly split open. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He wanted to defend himself, but it was too late. He was sent flying by this punch. A portion of his bones were broken. The surrounding people were also stunned. They only reacted when Lin Xian retreated. What had just happened? God, did Chao Tianxing attack? I actually didn't see it. They realized that if they had faced Chao Tianxing, they would have been killed in one move before they knew anything. The older powerhouses sighed. The younger generation would surpass them in time. Lin Xian's body emitted crackling sounds as his bones recovered. At the same time, a piercing light burst out from his eyes. He was indeed from the ancient Light Clan. Such speed was indeed shocking. He used the 9-yang divine body to the extreme, and at the same time opened the Rinnegan, covering 8 directions. He had to be careful when dealing with this kind of speed. This was another top-notch expert. Of all the martial arts in the world, only speed was invincible. Lin Xian took a deep breath, waved the heavens battle map and charged out. A crack appeared in the void as it soared into the sky. It was as if a giant dragon was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws in the sky as it charged towards Chao Tianxing. Chao Tianxing dodged in an instant and said, "Lin Xian, I admit that you are very powerful, but you can't keep up with my speed." As soon as he finished speaking, he didn't seem to move, but he had already appeared in over 100 different locations. He had punched out tens of millions of times, and only the most powerful experts could see it. The other double championship winners didn't seem to be able to see it. The Thunder King was stunned. Was this the ancient light tribe? As a Thunder King, the speed of his thunder was incomparably fast. But now he realized that he couldn't see it at all. The first emissary also frowned tightly. He could only feel a blur of this kind of speed. If he encountered it, it would be very troublesome. He could only stay in the Thunder Fire Palace. It was really too difficult to injure the other party. Sure enough, after several consecutive attacks, his heavens battle map couldn't hit the other party. Although Lin Xian's Rinnegan could see the other party, his body's speed couldn't keep up. Lin Xian launched a reincarnation attack, the heavenly path of reincarnation. A huge hand of the heavens appeared in the sky and fell mercilessly, but it was still too slow. Lin Xian's gaze seemed to be unable to keep up with Chao Tianxing's speed. The Light Tribe was indeed the fastest in the world. The other spectators were also amazed. Even those from the Emperor clan were surprised. No one could match such speed. At the same time they were also puzzled. The Light Tribe was so terrifying. How was the Light Tribe destroyed back then? They were even completely wiped out. Just what kind of person could have done this? Could it be a living great emperor who attacked the Light Tribe back then? Lin Xian was attacked. Thousands of punches landed on his body, and they were all focused on one place. Even Lin Xian with the 9-yang divine body couldn't withstand it. Cracks appeared on his body again and he retreated. The heavens battle map seemed to be useless. The Yi family members shook their heads and sighed. Young Master Lin was in danger. In the world of martial arts, only speed was unbeatable. With this kind of speed, he was already in an invincible position. Unless his speed could keep up, but it was too difficult. What a pity. On the other side, the elders of the Kunping clan also shook their heads. Lin Wuti took out the heavens battle map, defeated the first emissary and injured Yao Guang. But was he going to be defeated by Chao Tianxing? There was probably no one who could contend against Chao Tianxing's extreme speed. They couldn't even suppress him. Chao Tianxing was in an invincible position. Could it be that he would be the final champion? Sighs could be heard one after another. The people on Purple's side looked gloomy. The people of the Dao One school also frowned. The born Taoism aptitude didn't seem to have a good way to suppress this ancient speed. After throwing a few more punches, Lin Xian was pushed back. Chao Tianxing said, "Although you have the heavens battle map, you can't do anything to me. Even if you use the heavens battle map to protect yourself, it will only be a draw. So, if you want to defeat me, use your other power. If you don't, you won't be able to win this battle." He was right. Lin Xian frowned slightly. He put away the heavens battle map. Even the flame aura on his body disappeared. What was going on? The others looked at him in confusion. It seemed that Lin Wuti had given up resisting. The heavens battle map was so powerful, but he didn't use it. Could it be that he had a stronger trump card? His stronger trump card should be the sky-swallowing jar, but he couldn't take it out. Lin Xian didn't take out the sky-swallowing jar. Instead he took out a sword. It was a Hell Divine sword. Lin Xian stood there, surrounded by sword aura. The sword aura protected his body. Lin Xian said, "Next I will fight with you with the sword." He was a peerless swordsman. At this moment he was going to use the most primitive sword technique to fight with his opponent. Sword technique? It's useless. He can't cut me at all. Yes, his attack power was strong, far beyond that of his peers. Even the divine ancestor was no match for him. But if he couldn't hit the enemy, what was the use of a strong attack? Chao Tianxing also shook his head. It's useless. Next. I'm going to use hundreds of millions of attacks. Be careful. After saying that, he raised his palm, and there was endless light shining on his fist. It was his fist which was spinning at high speed. It was extremely fast. Chapter 54:15. A ray of light lit up between heaven and earth. Then everyone couldn't see anything. They only heard a voice. It seemed that they all remembered at the same time that this was the 100 million punches. The Light Clan's peerless divine ability. It's over. That Lin Wuti is in danger. That's right. Even if he didn't lose the first time, he wouldn't be able to block such a punch on the second day. It seemed that the outcome was destined. Brother Xian, Murong Qingqing and the others all became nervous. The first emissary snorted coldly. "When you lose and come outside, I'll teach you a lesson." He planned to make his move here. The others all became nervous. Would Lin Xian be defeated by this punch? The punch landed on Lin Xian's protective sword energy, causing it to shake violently. Next, a crack appeared on the protective sword energy. Then it spread all over his body. The protective sword chi was instantly shattered. At this time Lin Xian also made his move. The shattered sword chi seemed to have turned into thousands of azure dragons. They rushed out in an instant. At the same time, Lin Xian's sword technique also rushed over. Countless sword chi turned into a sea of swords and swept out. It also seemed to have turned into a sword that swept between heaven and earth. Clang. A thunderous sound rang out between heaven and earth, and the most dazzling light erupted. It was the great Tao waving. Everyone closed their eyes at this moment. This light was too bright. Many people's eyes were bleeding. The people outside were also shocked. Did he block it? Impossible. If this punch hit his body, Lin Wuti would definitely be torn apart. However, when the bright light disappeared, they found that Lin Xian's body didn't shatter. Instead, Chao Tianxing's fist was knocked back. How was this possible? He blocked it. How did he do it? Everyone was stunned. The people from the Great Emperor clan couldn't believe it. The light-shaking realm was shocked. The pupils of the born Taoism aptitude also shrank. The first emissary's expression became extremely ugly. His opponent actually blocked it. Chao Tianxing was also surprised. He felt that his fist was numb. He couldn't even use his strength. The attack just now was too sharp. Could his opponent keep up with his speed? It was unbelievable. He didn't believe it. Unless an ancient member of the Light Clan walked out, no one could keep up with its speed. Everyone looked at Lin Xian in confusion. Lin Xian held the Hell Sword in his hand, the corners of his mouth raised. Of all the martial arts in the world, only speed was unbreakable, and there was nothing it could not overcome. You have the fastest speed, but I have the strongest attack. The sword intent on Lin Xian's body continued to erupt, causing the entire world to shake. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. Even though they were so far away, they felt that the sword chi was going to tear their bodies apart. The few extreme weapons in the sky were also astonished. This was the strongest offensive power in the world, the Great Dragon Sword. It was too inconceivable. The Destruction Spear was shocked. In our Extreme Dao world, it was impossible to use the power of an Extreme Dao weapon. The Great Dragon Sword was also a power that surpassed the Saint Realm, so it would also be suppressed here. He didn't summon the Great Dragon Sword, but he was able to unleash such power just from within his body. It seemed that he had already fused with the Great Dragon Sword soul. This little fellow was really not simple. The black tortoise beside him also kept nodding. Extreme speed and the strongest attack. This time there would be a show to watch. Damn it, this Lin Wuti. When Yao Guang saw this scene, he gritted his teeth. He felt a sense of danger. He felt that whether it was the strongest speed or the most terrifying attack, he seemed to be unable to defeat them. He was actually suppressed by two people. Damn it, could it be that he had no chance of becoming the champion this time? No. He was unwilling to accept this. All these years he had been hiding from place to place, like a rat crossing the street, only able to walk in the dark. Because he secretly devoured the corpses of others and snatched their bloodlines. He would become the enemy of the world. But now that he had grown up, he dared to challenge the world. He was no longer afraid of others. He wanted to walk in the light. But in front of him, there were two people who had surpassed him, and he might even be hunted down. He was unwilling to accept this. He must become the champion. Thinking of this, Yao Guang sat down cross-legged. A black vortex appeared behind him and a figure emerged from it. It was a withered figure like a mummy. Most of the body was covered in white bones. However, there was a small part of the body that was intact, and there was even a hidden chaotic aura surging on it. This scene was hidden by Yao Guang in an instant. He continued to absorb the chaotic body. He had already absorbed the chaotic body from before, and there was only a little left. Once he completely absorbed it, his strength would not just increase by a small amount. It would increase by a large amount, because it would turn into a second chaotic body. Previously he was prepared to absorb it after the dragon transformation battle. But now it seemed that he could not wait any longer. He had to break through to the chaotic body at the last moment, only then could he compete with others. Yao Guang formed a seal with his palms and absorbed like crazy, using the demonic sky-devouring technique to the extreme. Of course, the black vortex had already disappeared, and he could not attract anyone's attention now. As expected, no one was paying attention to it, because everyone's attention was attracted by the battle in front of them. Only speed could not be defeated and indestructible. These two extremely terrifying powers collided in heaven and earth. As for which one was stronger, it would depend on their own strength. The laws of heaven and earth were vast. Sword chi soared into the sky. Everyone could only hear a series of explosions, and the entire sky was completely shattered. This was the extreme path world. In this world, even the divine ancestor was suppressed. However, these two people seemed to have entered a realm where no one could stop them. It was really too terrifying. The emperor race were also shocked. Even the emperor's son would not be able to compete with these two people. Both of them had the potential to become the new great emperor. Another intense collision. Yao Guang's expression was extremely serious. I did not expect you to be able to fight me to this extent. You can actually restrain my extreme speed. That is really surprising. He also knew that Lin Xian had extremely strong combat strength, but this combat strength was too strong. It was actually indestructible. Next, I will use my fastest speed. If you can block it, then this battle will be considered your win. The fastest speed? Lin Xian took a deep breath and put away the Hellfire Dragon Sword. He said, "Alright, I will also let you feel an even stronger indestructible." Lin Wuti put away his sword. What was he trying to do? Was he going to fight barehanded? If that was the case, his offensive strength would be weakened. The surrounding people were very puzzled. The Yi family was puzzled and the Divine Union was also surprised. Chao Tianxing also frowned. He did not know what the other party was doing, but he could not care less. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.